Chapter 173. After finishing their coffee, the two of them walked around the Gonzu Art Museum. What left the deepest impression on Toru Watanabe was an exquisite screen with a man and woman on it. The two of them were disheveled on a floating boat. This reminded him of Miki Kujo. On the night of the dance party, he was also on the boat, and her clothes were disheveled. That burgundy gown and corset dress was truly beautiful. Apart from this Dynasty Monogatari drawing, Toru Watanabe walked around. Although it was exquisite, he didn't feel any artistic aura from it. After all, his art degree was only AC, so he couldn't be expected to have any accomplishments in this area. On Sunday, they went to Kamibocho to visit a second-hand bookstore, and spent the night at Miki Kujo's place. On Monday, November 16th, Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo went to school together. "This is our first time together, right? It's rare," Toru Watanabe commented. In the car, Miki Kujo was sitting across from him, resting with her eyes closed. "After being together for a long time, even the rarest things will happen," she said casually. "Yeah." Toru Watanabe nodded, indicating that she had a point. "However," Miki Kujo opened her eyes and coldly sized him up, "there are some things that I hope we don't encounter." "What things?" Toru Watanabe asked curiously. "Things that make me unhappy. I think it's very difficult." Toru Watanabe told her the truth. Miki Kujo took off her shoes and pressed her foot against Toru Watanabe's face, slightly flattening the flesh on his cheek. "Say that again," she said. "I've discovered that you really like to step on people." Toru Watanabe's voice was slightly distorted because of the beautiful girl's foot on his face. Now that autumn was approaching winter, her black stockings were replaced with black tights. He could no longer see what Miki Kujo was wearing under her clothes like he did in the summer. "Yes, I like to step on people," Miki Kujo said with a proud smile. "But I only step on you. Don't think that I'll be happy just because you said that. His acting is too fake. I did it on purpose." Miki Kujo gently moved her foot down and lifted Toru Watanabe's chin. "I'm just trying to make you happy." Toru Watanabe took her feet down and helped her tidy up her pleated skirt. Finally, he patted her leg comfortingly. Actually, there was no need to look. When Miki Kujo put on her underwear, he was right beside her. Sometimes, he was the one who decided what color and style to wear. When the car arrived at Kamigawa, the two got off. "Help me carry my bag," Miki Kujo yawned and said. "No." Toru Watanabe refused. "I want to hold your hand with my other hand." Before Miki Kujo could say anything, he was already holding her delicate hand. Miki Kujo rolled her eyes at him and didn't say anything. She just let him hold her hand. As the two of them walked on campus, the students around them gave them all kinds of looks. Some were envious, some were worshipful, and some were malicious. Although the rumors about Toru Watanabe currying favor with rich girls couldn't be heard in person, they must exist somewhere in the world and would never disappear. But the current Toru Watanabe was no longer the youth from Iwate Prefecture. He was now able to ignore the opinions of others by learning actively and passively. "You're on the path to becoming amazing, and you're not going to turn back. You're really something, Kun Watanabe." He used the method of mental victory to encourage himself every day. People were constantly giving themselves hints so that they could be more confident in the face of difficulties. During the morning class meeting, Aona Koizumi talked about the winter camping trip. "It'll be held on December 2nd, Wednesday, and it'll last for 3 days. There'll be a cross-country race, a picnic, a test of courage, mountaineering, skiing, and finally, a bonfire party." Toru Watanabe once again felt sorry for his friends in China. Thinking about it carefully, China was still catching up. It wasn't time for them to enjoy life yet. In recent generations, it was necessary to sacrifice themselves so that future generations could have a relaxed learning life. Toru Watanabe was also sacrificing himself. He used his whole life to experience a relaxed education, but it was only to sum up the pros and cons. His friends in China started their morning reading at 6 and had several classes at 8. He only had his first class meeting at 8:20. Every time he thought of this fact, his heart was burning with anxiety. He wanted nothing more than to laugh out loud. "Sensei," a girl said. During the bonfire party, the two people who dance at the finale will be connected by fate and will never be separated for the rest of their lives. Is this true? What do you guys think? Aona Koizumi didn't express his thoughts. Instead, he asked everyone with a smile. "It's too unrealistic," Osamu Kunai said loudly. "Koi, you're such a killjoy," a girl complained. "It's true." Keisuke Saito joined the battle. 90% of couples in school will break up. They will never be separated for the rest of their lives, unless they die together that day. Die together? Ah, unbelievable. Boys are so bad. It's precisely because they will break up that they want to be connected by fate and never be separated for the rest of their lives. I really can't stand you girls. Can't you be more realistic? Osamu Kunai's voice alone could suppress everyone. That's right, that's right. Keisuke Saito nodded vigorously. Class monitor, what do you think? The male class monitor adjusted his glasses and said in a dark tone, I don't dance. Seriously? Guys with nerves are the most annoying. What? These guys are so annoying. Kazumi Ikeda stood up and turned around. She pointed her flat stomach at Toru Watanabe in the back seat. Kuen Watanabe, do you think so too? The legend of the bonfire party is fake? About that, That's right. Kuen Watanabe, you speak on behalf of the boys. A girl in the front seat who was famous for being fierce, also urged. Watanabe, tell them. Osamu Kunai looked at him with contempt. Let them give up completely and know how boring they are. Keisuke Saito encouraged. Sensei. Toru Watanabe raised his hand. Aona Koizumi, who had been watching the show, smiled and said, As far as I know, for winter camping, every class has to elect a committee member, right? For example, a committee member for the Daredevil Challenge, a committee member for logistics, and so on. What? Watanabe, do you want to be a committee member? No, there's no such thing. I'm just saying that we should hurry up and not waste time on things like the bonfire party. Things like the bonfire party? Kazumi Ikeda repeated in disbelief. Kuen Watanabe, do you also think the legend is fake? Toru Watanabe blinked twice. Ha ha ha. Osamu Kunai laughed. Do you understand now? The bonfire party is fake. Kuen Watanabe, I'll tell Kujo about this. No, wait. I didn't say the legend is fake, right? Aona Koizumi clapped her hands and signaled for everyone to be quiet. Watanabe, since you want to be a committee member, then I'll leave it to you. Ha! Toru Watanabe stood up. No. Sensei, I'm afraid of ghosts. When I was young, I watched horror movies and had to sleep with my parents for at least 2 days. The way to overcome your fear is to thoroughly understand it. If you're afraid of ghosts, then you'll play the role of a ghost. That way, you'll know that those ghosts are actually fake. Just like in TV dramas or movies about ghosts, the shooting scenes are actually very funny. Sensei, I'm not afraid of ghosts. I just want to be lazy. Let Koiwakai do this. This guy is best at this kind of thing. Aona Koizumi thought for a moment. Koiwakai is very strong. I'm going to let him be a committee member of the bonfire party. Yes, let him chop wood. Carry wood. The girls echoed in unison. That's not right, Sensei. Osamu Kunai shouted. Watanabe is stronger than me. How can that be? Watanabe doesn't have much strength at first glance. Really? He's much stronger than me. The baseball he throws is fast and... Even if you're talking about baseball, I don't understand. Between playing the role of a ghost and chopping wood, scaring people is definitely more interesting than sweating. After school, in the Human Observation Department, Toru Watanabe and the two beautiful girls talked about what happened during the morning class meeting. Is that so? The department head, Rin Kiyono, used a tone that said, both of them are boring, but Toru Watanabe is even more boring. Miss Kujo, who was lying on the sofa, wasn't listening at all. Toru Watanabe changed the topic again. Do you think the legend of the bonfire party is true or false? What's the difference between those who believe in such things and those who do nothing and place their hopes on dreams and possibilities? Rin Kiyono's voice was cold and clear. Beautiful. I really want the girls in the class to hear your answer. Miki, what about you? Childish. I can't agree more. Toru Watanabe applauded. Although he didn't know whether Miki Kujo was saying that the legend of the bonfire party was childish, or that he was childish for talking about such things. But if you don't invite me to dance, I'll roast you on the bonfire. Ha, you actually said that others are childish. This sentence was, of course, said by Kiyono. Don't misunderstand. Miki Kujo sat up and walked over without shoes. The floor was covered with a furry blanket at some point. She supported herself with one hand on the beechwood table and looked down at Rin Kiyono, who was reading a book. Whether or not we can be together forever depends on our ability. I'm dancing with Watanabe just to tell some people to stop having unrealistic fantasies. Kujo-san, who's always confident, are you afraid? Rin Kiyono's eyes didn't leave the book. He even turned the page. Afraid? Miki Kujo sneered. Kiyono-san, are you really going to seduce someone else's boyfriend? First of all, Watanabe-san and my club activities existed before you two started dating. Secondly, Rin Kiyono closed the book and looked at Miki Kujo, who was looking down at her. Are you really afraid? Have you lost confidence in yourself? Without waiting for Miki Kujo to speak, she glanced at Toru Watanabe. Then, she added as if she just remembered. I almost forgot that Watanabe-san is a pervert who likes legs. I'm indeed a big threat. Oh, is that so? Miki Kujo slowly turned around and looked at Toru Watanabe, who was hiding behind memories of time like water. It was sudden and unfolding like a natural disaster. How should I explain this sentence? Toru Watanabe muttered to himself. The blazing fire is like a steaming cloak that wraps around the sleeping person? Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono also looked over. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses and looked out the window blankly. Is it over? Time passed so quickly today. Is this Einstein's theory of relativity? I have to find some time to study it. No one cared whether he studied theory of relativity or not. Is your O fetish related to legs? Kiyono-san's legs are prettier, or mine? The two beautiful girls' gazes were extremely oppressive. Toru Watanabe could only give up struggling. I will never like a girl just because her legs are pretty, he said. Miki Kujo's lips curled up and she narrowed her eyes, but not because she was happy. Who couldn't see that Toru Watanabe was evading the question and didn't answer the question? But she would settle this with him when she got back. She looked at Rin Kiyono. It seems that Kiyono-san's only advantage isn't that great after all. Only advantage? Rin Kiyono pretended to be confused and repeated. Kujo-san, can you guarantee that you won't retaliate and let Toru Watanabe-san choose his own partner for the bonfire party? Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes. Rin Kiyono responded with a contemptuous sneer. Do you think I'll fall for that? Miki Kujo suddenly laughed. It doesn't matter if Watanabe likes legs or not. The only legs he can touch are mine. I don't need to prove anything. I can understand your thoughts. Rin Kiyono sighed. If my opponent is as beautiful as me, I'll be worried too. The activity classroom of the Human Observation Department fell into a dead silence, as if it was at the bottom of the sea. Okay. Miki Kujo stood up straight. Let Watanabe choose. You guarantee that you won't retaliate? Rin Kiyono confirmed with a sneer. No problem. Miki Kujo crossed her arms. Her eyes were clearly smiling, but they were full of coldness. Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono greeted him. Did you hear that? At this time, why don't you tell the truth about Miki Kujo's words? Capitalists aren't good people, including beautiful girls. There's no need. Toru Watanabe's face was relaxed. I'll tell you the answer now. I'll definitely invite. Wait a minute. Rin Kiyono interrupted him. The choice you're making now is only based on rational judgment. Only on the day of the bonfire party will the person you really like, who you want to dance with, and who you want to make friends with appear in your mind. Toru Watanabe was speechless. She could even say something like that. It seemed that Aoi Ichiki's love story wasn't useless. It seemed to have grown a lot. Then let's wait for the day of the bonfire party. Miki Kujo walked back to the sofa. I'll make you admit defeat. I'm looking forward to it. Rin Kiyono chuckled. It was common knowledge that women were naturally good at acting. Therefore, Toru Watanabe would never believe anything that Miki Kujo promised today. As for what Rin Kiyono said, only on the day of the bonfire party will the person you really like, who you want to dance with, and who you want to make friends with appear in your mind. That kind of thing was too light. That was reality. What he needed was rational judgment. His answer wouldn't change. Chapter 174. November 17th, Tuesday, lunch break. Watanabe, let's go. Got it. Toru Watanabe replied with a sigh. Seeing his reluctance, Osamu Kunai was a little confused and asked him, if you don't want to, why don't you just tell Teacher Koizumi directly? There are some things that only I can do. Is being a committee member of the daring competition such an amazing job? Keisuke Saito, the new logistics committee member, said. What do you think? Toru Watanabe was bitter but couldn't say anything. As they spoke, the three of them walked out of Year 1 Class 4 and walked towards the student union meeting room. In the corridor, there were many people walking in the same direction as them. On the afternoon of the second day after Toru Watanabe became a committee member of the daring competition, the student union gathered all relevant committee members for a meeting. Kanagawa High School's student union meeting room wasn't a simple and crude version of the school desks. It had an oval solid wood table and exquisite chairs. It was more extravagant than the meeting rooms of many companies or law firms. Toru Watanabe and the other two casually found a seat. Before the meeting started, they talked about the free activities of camping, boring topics like fishing or skiing. Toru Watanabe looked towards the source of the voice, but he didn't see anything. I'm over here, the voice came from the other side this time. He turned to look again. It was a lively and cheerful girl with a cute bob and a cute little round face. Her eyes were big and curved into crescents. You are. Toru Watanabe didn't know her. No way. The girl covered her mouth in disbelief. I'm Nai. Toru Watanabe remembered who this person was, but he still said, sorry, I don't know you. May I know who you are? After Senior Miyasahi's lesson, he decided to treat all girls coldly. This would benefit both parties. The girl clasped her hands behind her skirt and happily clasped them together. It's okay if you don't know me. Just call me Nai. Nice to meet you, Kun Watanabe. Other than Miki, he didn't even call out Rin Kiyono's name. What was this woman thinking? What can I do for you, President Mochi? Toru Watanabe stopped pretending. So you know me? So you were deliberately teasing me just now? Miyashita Momo put her hands behind her back again, tilted her head slightly, and smiled at Toru Watanabe. Kun Watanabe, don't tell me you like me? You don't scare me. I've seen people more narcissistic than you. You're joking again. It's impossible for anyone to be more narcissistic than me. Miyagi waved his hand in disbelief. Do you know Rin Kiyono? That guy's narcissism is incurable. Toru Watanabe said. So this is my image in Watanabe-san's mind. A clear and beautiful voice, accompanied by the sound of cold footsteps, gradually approached. Toru Watanabe didn't look away, but he didn't appear to be flustered. He looked at the student union president and continued, "Although narcissistic, Kiyono is indeed a rare beauty. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she's one of a kind." One of a kind? Toru Watanabe's face fell instantly. He was as flustered as he could be. Looking closely, Momo Miyagi was smiling very happily. Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito kept giving him meaningful looks. Their eyes were almost crooked. Toru Watanabe slowly turned around and looked up. He didn't know when, but not only was Rin Kiyono there, but Miss Kujo was also there. He didn't have time to think about why the two of them were there. "Miki, listen to me. So you're the new student union president." Miki Kujo looked at Momo Miyagi, but her hand reached out to Toru Watanabe's ear. "I won the election by luck." Momo Miyagi waved her hand modestly. "Kujo, please have mercy. We can discuss anything in school. Our family can't compare to the Kujo family. There's nothing to discuss with you. Just stay away from this guy," Miki Kujo said as she glanced at Toru Watanabe, whose ear she was twisting. Nainai Miyagi glanced at Toru Watanabe, who had a pained expression, and couldn't help but laugh. Of course, who doesn't know that Kuin Watanabe is the Kujo family's future son-in-law? Miki Kujo sneered. Without moving her head, she glanced coldly at Rin Kiyono. "Isn't there one here?" "Ouch, ouch, ouch. Gentler." Toru Watanabe shouted exaggeratedly as he felt the increasing force on his ear. Rin Kiyono flicked her long hair over her shoulder and smiled faintly. "The Kujo family and Kiyono family are going to break off their relationship? That's great." Nainai Miyagi clapped her hands and said happily, "In the future, if the two families want to work together, please consider our Miyagi family." "It's none of your business." "Stop dreaming, Miyagi-senpai. Kiyono family's business has nothing to do with me." "I see." Momo Miyagi was slightly disappointed, but her eyes lit up when she saw Toru Watanabe. "Kuin Watanabe, I can only rely on you. Please make them fall head over heels in love with each other, and then break off their relationship. Do you think I still have a chance? Currently, I can't even protect myself." Toru Watanabe pointed at the snow-white and delicate hand on his ear. Miki Kujo bent down. Her small and delicate face was pressed against Toru Watanabe's face. "Are you planning to do this if you can't protect yourself?" Her soft lips poured out hot air onto Toru Watanabe's ear. "Kujo-san," Rin Kiyono looked at the two people who were about to stick together. "Yesterday, you said, no revenge. Are you going back on your words today? If I remember correctly, you said, no revenge after the event, right?" Miki Kujo glanced at her. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and lowered her head in deep thought, as if she was recalling what she said yesterday. After 3 seconds, she said, "This is also a sign of lack of confidence, right? It has to be recorded in the Human Observation Activity Record." Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes slightly and let go of the hand that was twisting Toru Watanabe's ear. Only then did Toru Watanabe realize that the noisy meeting room was now completely silent. "What can I do? Who asked me to like this bad guy so much?" Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe gently and adjusted the position of his tie. "I feel very uncomfortable when I think about someone trying to snatch you from me." At first, her tone was still gentle, but in the end, there was only a cold murderous intent left. "Kujo-san, your discomfort is something for me to be happy about." Rin Kiyono returned the same cold smile. Miki Kujo looked back and forth between the two of them, then suddenly smiled and said, "Kuin Watanabe, as the person involved, aren't you going to say a few words?" "This guy." Toru Watanabe seemed to see a fox's tail peeking out from behind the student union president's skirt. "The lunch break is already over. Let's hurry up and start the meeting," he said. As if she didn't get a satisfactory answer, Miki Kujo puffed up her cheeks in dissatisfaction. However, Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo didn't intend to continue the argument and sat down in their respective seats. There was nothing she could do. Miki Kujo returned to the seat of honor and looked at the number of people. The committee members of each class are all present. Let's start today's meeting. First of all, regarding the specific planning of the winter camping event, each group is to submit it to the student union before this Friday. Next is the budget. If the event plan is approved, the budget. As the higher-up spoke, the people below continued to make small movements. Toru Watanabe glared at Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito, complaining that the two of them didn't warn him and kept their eyes locked. Then, ignoring their disregard and excuses, he asked Miki Kujo beside him in a low voice. "Miki, why are you here? If I didn't come, I wouldn't have been able to learn the idiom, one of a kind. I admit, I'll be honest. I do think that Kiyono classmate is very beautiful, even comparable to you, Miki. That's why I said, one of a kind, just now." Glib tongue. Miki Kujo placed her hand on his thigh. This time, she really pinched it with all her might. Ouch. Toru Watanabe was in so much pain that his upper body leaned forward. Because it was too painful, he couldn't help but reach out and press on Miki Kujo's black pantyhose-covered thigh. Like a child who drank bitter medicine and desperately ate sweets, he greedily kneaded her slender and well-proportioned thigh. Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito couldn't see what was going on under the table. They looked at Toru Watanabe, who was in so much pain that he looked like he was about to die, with pity and ridicule. The meeting ended peacefully. This time, Miki Kujo didn't seem to have any intention of presiding over the meeting. Last time, it was because Kujo's mother suddenly wanted to come to the cultural festival that she took the initiative and didn't allow anything to go wrong. Kujo's mother definitely wouldn't participate in activities like winter camping, so it was reasonable that Miki Kujo didn't interfere. In conclusion, Miki Kujo was a committee member purely to keep an eye on her boyfriend. What did I do wrong? Toru Watanabe rubbed his thigh that was definitely red by now and returned to the classroom. After watching Memories of Grey Years for a while, the lunch break was over and the fifth class began. The fifth class was Home Economics. For today's class, it was tailoring. As usual, there were two classes in class, Class 2 and Class 4. Today's task is to make bags. The elderly home economics teacher's voice was very gentle. Shoulder bags, backpacks, straddle bags, or handbags. You can make any bag you want. After you're done, come find me for a stamp and then you can leave. The students from the two classes went up one by one to choose the materials they liked. The home economics teacher didn't care much. After explaining the topic, she minded her own business and knitted sweaters for winter. According to the girls in the class, the home economics teacher made almost all the clothes herself. The styles were simple and beautiful, so many girls wanted to learn from her. Since the home economics teacher didn't care about anything, Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo hung out together. He chose black fabric for himself and bright red for her. Miki Kujo preferred red, not the kind that emphasized color. It was simple, dignified, and didn't look feminine on boys. That was her favorite. Do you know how to use a sewing machine? Toru Watanabe asked her. This was the first time he had a home economics class with Miki Kujo. Class 2 and Class 4 had met before, but Miki Kujo wasn't there. She either didn't come for the whole day or left at noon for the fourth class in the morning. I learned a little. Miki Kujo took the fabric and drew lines on it with a pencil. Toru Watanabe sat down next to her. His pants rubbed against his thigh, and the place where he was pinched actually hurt slightly. He looked around the classroom. Everyone was behind the sewing machine, and no one was paying attention to the corner where they were sitting. Toru Watanabe turned his back to everyone and secretly unbuckled his belt. Hearing the sound of the zipper, Miki Kujo looked up. She watched as Toru Watanabe unzipped his underwear and stared at her thigh. You have this kind of fetish? Miki Kujo looked at him and mocked him. What kind of fetish? Look, it's red. Toru Watanabe whispered. Miki Kujo looked at it and reached out her slender right hand. Her index finger gently touched the red area. Does it hurt? Of course, and it hurts a lot. Miki Kujo rubbed it gently and warned him coldly, if you praise Rin Kiyono again, I'll pinch your leg until it's purple. Purple. Chapter 175. The bag that Miki Kujo sewed for Toru Watanabe was similar to a portable gift bag. Many high school students in Japan would carry a bag like this in addition to their school bag. They would use it to store items such as clothing for their physical education class or club. There was no embroidery of Miki loves Sei or Sei loves Miki on the bag. In order to make the bag look good, there was no extra time for Miki Kujo to embroider words. Although Miki, Sama exclusive, would be added later, no one knew when it would be. After 2 more classes, the school bell rang on time. Toru Watanabe was on duty today. Just as he was carefully wiping the blackboard until it reflected light, the girl on duty on the same day came over with a broom. Kun Watanabe. Toru Watanabe wiped the blackboard up and down with a wet rag that had been wrung dry. Will Kujo-san go to the bonfire party? The girl surnamed Shimoda asked. Yes, why? Nothing, I'm just asking. By the way, the floor is almost done. Kun Watanabe, you should hurry up and mop the floor together. Coming. Toru Watanabe changed the rag and continued wiping the blackboard. It was already 4 o'clock when the shift ended. It was 4 o'clock in the middle of November. The sky was orange, yellow, and a little indigo. Some girls were leaning against the window in the corridor, taking pictures of the sky. The girl's legs were exposed under her slightly raised pleated skirt. Almost no one could be heard in the school building. On the field in the distance, the sports club members were running under the red color, sweating. Stepping into the elevated corridor leading to the club building, the choir's pronunciation practice and the sound of the instruments from the music club dragged the sports clubs shouting away. After walking through the elevated corridor, Toru Watanabe stepped into the human observation department. The temperature suddenly rose, and it was so warm that it made people want to sleep. Even Toru Watanabe, who did not feel the cold, breathed a sigh of relief. Today, it was only Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono. He didn't know if Miki Kujo was really busy or if she was afraid that Rin Kiyono would say, why have you been here every day since the bet? Are you afraid of me? With Miki Kujo's personality, it was worth pondering why she would agree to such a bet. Women were truly terrifying, and beautiful girls were no exception. I really want to sleep here at night. It's so cold when I go to and after school. I agree, Rin Kiyono said as she looked at the map. But you should put on your unbuttoned clothes first. That will make it more convincing. If it's not cool, I'd rather freeze to death. Actually, the main reason was that it wouldn't be too cold even if it was open. Instead, it would feel restrictive if it was buttoned up. Toru Watanabe sat down on the chair and took out Memories of Time Like Water. She looked at the remaining pages. She would probably have to hug it to celebrate the new year. He didn't have to worry about what book to read next. For him, this was a kind of small happiness. Just as Toru Watanabe opened the title page and was about to read it, Rin Kiyono interrupted him. Wait a moment. What's the matter? Toru Watanabe raised his head. Rin Kiyono handed over the map in her hand. I've roughly designed some routes for the test of courage. How about you take a look from a boy's point of view? What do you mean by a boy's point of view? When it comes to being afraid of ghosts, men and women are about the same. Toru Watanabe picked up the map and drew a few routes with a pencil. Kanagawa High School chose a famous camping ground near Tokyo for their winter camping. There were hot springs, ski trails, cross-country motorcycles, outdoor dining tables, rivers, forests, wooden houses, and so on. Almost all of the routes for the test of courage were chosen in the forest. Toru Watanabe looked at it and said as if giving up, how can you tell which route is scarier just by looking at the map? This is just the planned route. As for the specific arrangements, I'm going to go on a field trip. A field trip? Just because of a test of courage? Kiyono-san, you're too serious. Do you know why this world is so annoying? It's because most people can't seriously do what they should do. All day long, they indulge in boring things like stockings, legs, breasts, and paid movies. If you directly replace most people with Watanabe-san, I won't have any objections. It's good that you know. Rin Kiyono put away the map, put her hand on her chin, and thought seriously. After a while, she said, "Sure enough, I still have to go on a field trip." "Then pay attention to your own safety. Although it's a camping ground, there are forests and water. It's probably not safe there." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Rin Kiyono raised her head and looked at Toru Watanabe with slightly puzzled eyes. "You don't think that I'm going to go to that kind of place alone, do you?" "Wait." Toru Watanabe raised his right hand. "Let's not talk about it." "I'm going too." Rin Kiyono looked at him with a look that said, "Don't talk nonsense all day long." Going to the camping ground in this kind of weather. Stockings, legs, breasts, paid movies aside, when it came to the matter of most people can't seriously do what they should do, Toru Watanabe had to admit that he was a member of the majority. So, he used his brain that was getting smarter by the day and thought of a good idea. "Don't you think it's more efficient to ask the previous test of courage committee members than to go on a field trip?" Toru Watanabe said. "This is also a way. And even if you want to know the actual situation of the camping ground, you don't have to go to the site." "What do you mean?" Rin Kiyono asked. "There are no secrets on the internet." Toru Watanabe knocked on the beach table with his index finger. "I see." Rin Kiyono nodded. Considering that restaurants can be booked through mobile phones and can even directly check the restaurant's environment and menu for that day, there's a high probability that the camping ground has the same app or forum. His reaction was fast, and he knew how to draw inferences, but he could not keep up with the trend. In this day and age, who would not know the actual situation and go there directly? Looking for information on the internet was the first reaction of a normal person. Also, Toru Watanabe's persistence in slacking off was not to be underestimated. Compared to the horror of the environment, the effect produced by the appropriate props may be better. As expected of my deputy minister, Rin Kiyono stared at Toru Watanabe and said in a slightly admiring tone, "You can just praise yourself. I won't have any objections, Minister. You don't have to be so modest. You are still a little useful." Rin Kiyono's flawless hand pressed on her chest that barely moved up and down. "To be recognized by me, you are already more than 99% human." That was not the end. She continued, "Considering that my personal proportion of 7 billion is almost insignificant, it is not too much to say that you are more than the entire human race. Arslan, I sincerely advise you that although narcissism is not a serious illness, it is best to treat it as soon as possible," Toru Watanabe sincerely suggested. Rin Kiyono snorted in dissatisfaction. "Ask the former committee members of the courage test, the appropriate props, and the map on the internet." She summarized Toru Watanabe's suggestion. "The only thing you can do now is to ask the former committee members of the courage test. At the same time, you can also ask them about the last two things." "That's it. Then let's go find the former committee members of the courage test now." Rin Kiyono stood up. "Take care." Rin Kiyono wrapped a white scarf around herself and stared at Toru Watanabe indifferently. After she wrapped the scarf around herself, she still stared at Toru Watanabe without moving. Okay. Toru Watanabe sighed and closed his book. "How do I find them?" Rin Kiyono ignored Toru Watanabe's reluctant question and walked out of the warm activity classroom. Although the corridor was so cold that she subconsciously shrank her body, there was a slight smile on her beautiful face with her back to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe closed the door and followed Rin Kiyono. They walked straight down the stairs, then down the stairs again. They walked straight until they arrived at the music classroom. After school, the largest number of people in the instrument club was indeed the most likely place to be a committee member of the courage test. Even if there was no one, it was convenient to ask. Lastly, to put it in a slightly exaggerated way, the instrument club was now a subordinate club of the Human Observation Department, so it was easy to order them around. Compared to the evil clubs that secretly manipulated the student council, the Human Observation Department at least had the advantage of numbers. Should he try to run for the student council president in his second year of high school? He could complete his grand hegemony of controlling all the women in Kamigawa, including the female teachers. Toru Watanabe opened the heavy soundproof door with messy thoughts in his head. At this point, the god Sama Kiyono, who was polite to everyone, would never say thank you to Toru Watanabe. She took Toru Watanabe's opening of the door as a matter of course. She crossed her arms and walked into the music classroom with stern steps. One of them was beautiful, and the other was handsome and delicate. As soon as they walked in, the music classroom went silent. Kiyono classmate? Watanabe classmate? Kaoru Hayami, who had been promoted to minister, walked up to her. Morning, senior. Rin Kiyono greeted her and immediately got to the point. Can I disturb you for a moment? Sure. Kaoru Hayami nodded gently. What's the matter? Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe looked back at her. Why are you looking at me? I'm not your translator. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up. So fierce, so scary. Morning, senior, it's like this. Toru Watanabe told her about the DARE test. In other words, you're here to look for the first-year committee member of the DARE test? Kaoru Hayami confirmed. I won't let the instrument club help for free, Rin Kiyono said. I can be a judge for next year's selection. Selection? Kaoru Hayami didn't react. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly. Morning, senior. Don't you plan to select members of Group A through the selection next year? She might not have noticed it herself, but from Toru Watanabe's perspective, she wasn't asking at all, but questioning and interrogating. No, it's definitely strength that counts, Kaoru Hayami replied subconsciously. Rin Kiyono nodded, satisfactorily. Do you see, everyone? The wind department is the ironclad proof that humans are observing their subordinates. Then I'll have to trouble Senior to help us ask, Toru Watanabe said. Okay. Kaoru Hayami walked up to the podium and raised his voice slightly. Everyone, may I ask if anyone has been a committee member of the DARE test? The audience discussed for a while, but no one stepped forward. It's fine to know who has been a committee member, Toru Watanabe reminded them. I know. This time, many people raised their hands. Ikeda from our class. Tsumura from our class used to be a committee member too. Right, I remember that my Asahi senpai was also a committee member. And it said that the DARE test that year was so scary that many people didn't even dare to go to the bathroom alone at night. My senpai was in the small classroom next door, Kaoru Hayami said. My Asahi senpai. Rin Kiyono mulled over this name. Toru Watanabe whispered to her. Senior has to prepare for the entrance exam tomorrow. Let's not disturb her. Rin Kiyono turned her head and asked him, Senior will be admitted to Tokyo University tomorrow. Watanabe-san, do you still remember this? Toru Watanabe whistled. It was the tune of March for Endless Dreams. Thank you for your trouble, Rin Kiyono said to Kaoru Hayami, then called out to Toru Watanabe. Let's go, Toru Watanabe-san. The two of them left the music classroom and turned into the small classroom for the bass section. Asako Hanada was completely blocked by the bass. Aoi Ichiki was pushing the bass horn, two tuba players that only their surnames were known, and my Asahi was guiding them. Sorry to bother you, Rin Kiyono greeted them. Senpai Asahi, can I talk to you about something? My Asahi looked at Rin Kiyono, and Toru Watanabe behind her and nodded. Okay. Aoi Ichiki held the bowstring in her hand tightly and watched the three of them leave. At this time, the sky had turned dark. Soon it would be dark. There was no wind in the corridor, but it was still too cold for the high school girls who were only wearing stockings. The three of them returned to the activity classroom for the Human Observation Department. Rin Kiyono finally let go of her arms and showed a relaxed and comfortable expression. When she took off the scarf around her neck, she habitually flipped her long hair. The faint fragrance of her hair reached Toru Watanabe's nose. Senpai Asahi, we're looking for you about the courage trial. In order to make it more effective, I'm going to. Looking at Rin Kiyono, who explained the reason, Toru Watanabe couldn't help but guess. Was it because she was too cold in the music classroom just now? After listening to Rin Kiyono's explanation, Mayasahi, who was expressionless from beginning to end, nodded. I understand. She took the map and drew a line on it. Then, she spread her hands to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe looked at her in confusion. Notes and pens. I'll write down all the props and scare methods. Mayasahi's indifferent tone was mixed with an almost inaudible gentleness. Oh. Toru Watanabe took out the Mandarin notebook and pen case from his bag. When Mayasahi took it, her index finger touched Toru Watanabe's hand. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly. Mayasahi wrote down the relevant information in her notebook. The Human Observation Department didn't make a sound. Rin Kiyono used her phone to search for information about the camping site. Toru Watanabe started reading Memories of Time Like Water. About 5 minutes later, Mayasahi put the 4-page notebook in the middle of the three of them. Toru Watanabe glanced at it. He didn't look at what was written, but judging from the typography, Mayasahi must be an expert at taking notes. Even Rin Kiyono, the picky master, nodded her head in praise. Sorry to trouble you, Sui-senpai, she said. Yeah. Mayasahi played with the automatic pencil, sold in Iwate Prefecture's rural grocery store. Once the budget is out, I can accompany you to buy props. I know a specialized store. Upon hearing this, Rin Kiyono's clear eyes widened slightly. Mayasahi was famous for being cold. Not only did she provide information, she even offered to buy props with them. She glanced back and forth between Toru Watanabe and Mayasahi before she said, Then I'll have to trouble you, senpai. It'll probably be this Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. Mayasahi put down her pen. Goodbye. Goodbye, Sui-senpai. After Mayasahi left, Toru Watanabe thought that it would be another police interrogation of a thief, but Rin Kiyono kept looking at her notebook and didn't say a single word. The sky was dark, and when the Shinjuku district building in the distance emitted colorful lights, the two of them finished their club activities. The temperature was only 7 degrees Celsius when they left the campus. Osamu Kanai, who was only wearing sportswear, caught up to them. He must have just finished his club activities because he was sweating profusely. He walked to Toru Watanabe's right side. Rin Kiyono's face was hidden in her scarf. Watanabe, I have something to discuss with you. He whispered. What is it? Say, if a person is confessed to by another person, will that person care about the other person? No. Toru Watanabe gave a straightforward answer. He knew what Osamu Kanai was thinking. He was still thinking about Aoi Ichiki. I think so too. Osamu Kanai patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder. HM? Just when Toru Watanabe was wondering if he had guessed wrong, Osamu Kanai continued, How can a confession be enough? My next move is to hold hands. If holding hands doesn't work, I'll hug. If hugging doesn't work, I'll kiss. If hugging doesn't work, will kissing work? You're already 16 years old. I suggest you don't harass women. No, Anyway, that's not what I meant. Anyway, I just want you to know that I won't give up. Osamu Kanai showed Toru Watanabe his clenched fists. Because of playing baseball, his palms turned yellow. That was a sign of his hard work and also a condition for entering Koshien. You should discuss this with Sai too. Toru Watanabe refused. No, he'll definitely tell others about this. You're someone who's been tested. Osamu Kanai's test referred to when they returned from Kyoto. They asked Toru Watanabe if he knew that Aoi Ichiki liked Mayasahi. Toru Watanabe told them that he didn't tell them because of his privacy. I didn't tell them because Yitsuki-san is a girl. I'm not that nice to boys. Toru Watanabe purposely said in annoyance. We're friends. We're friends who've killed dragons together. This is a matter of life and death in a game. Why are you so excited? I don't care. You have to help me. Osamu Kunai shamelessly said. I don't care either. I won't help you. I don't care. You have to help me. No, it's too disgusting to talk to you like this. Please stay away from me. The evening breeze blew away this meaningless daily conversation. Rin Kiyono was on Toru Watanabe's left, and Osamu Kunai was on his right. The three of them went down the ramp and walked towards Shibuya Station. Chapter 176. In the third week of November, Rin Kiyono devoted the remaining 3 days to perfecting her plan for the quiz contest. Without her stirring up trouble, Toru Watanabe's life would have been smooth sailing. November 22nd, Sunday. It wasn't cold, but it was a day without the sun. Hugo, la vie est une fleur dont amour. Hugo, life is a beautiful flower, and love is the nectar. Toru Watanabe sat on the tatami. He leaned against the wall, crossed his feet, and bit an apple while listening to the French broadcast on his cell phone. Scuderie, l'amour fait les plus grands décisibles plusensibles in fortune de la vie. Scuderie, love can bring the greatest sweetness and the most bitter misfortune to life. He read the example sentence after her. After swallowing the juicy apple, he said another sentence. Scuderie is right. While he was studying and entertaining himself, the alarm clock rang. It was 9:30 in the morning. Toru Watanabe turned off the broadcast, bit the apple in his mouth, and put on his thin jacket in front of the mirror. After confirming that there were no problems, he locked the door and walked to the station. Today was the day they agreed to buy props together. When he was about to reach Shifuku Station, the sun suddenly shone down, and the wind became stronger. Toru Watanabe looked at the station in the direction of the wind. He didn't need to deliberately look for a figure that naturally entered his line of sight. He walked up. Good morning, Kiyono-san. Good morning. Rin Kiyono looked to the right. Toru Watanabe's figure wasn't in the place where the voice came from. Watanabe-san, you're more childish than I imagined. She sighed helplessly and looked to the left. It can't be helped. Kiyono-san is still unbelievably cute today. As a boy, I can't help but play pranks on you, Toru Watanabe said. I hope you'll dare to say that when Senpai comes tomorrow. Why not? In order to prove himself, Toru Watanabe carefully looked at Rin Kiyono today. She was wearing an aqua blue, thin sweater and a barefoot white dress. She looked gentle and comfortable. Arsang, you will definitely become a very beautiful and elegant lady in the future. Toru Watanabe-san, the way you praise people really makes me unhappy. Really? Then teach me how to praise people. Take me as an example. Come on. Toru Watanabe made a please praise me as much as you want pose. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe from head to toe. He didn't say a word, but the corners of his mouth curled up in disdain. Her expression seemed to be saying, why don't you take a look at yourself? Is there anything I can praise you for? I see. Rubbing his chin, Toru Watanabe pondered, the reason why you're not happy is because there's a problem with your aesthetics. Among the things I hate about you, talking nonsense is the most annoying. No, we're talking about, praise me. Kiyono-san, not only do you have a problem with your aesthetics, but you also have a problem with your basic conversational ability. Is it fun to deceive yourself? The two bickering people stood in the corner of the station, constantly attracting the attention of passers-by. After a while, Mayasahi appeared at the station. She was also dressed very beautifully today. The beige turtleneck sweater made her originally delicate face even more lovely. Under the black pleated skirt and pantyhose were slightly plump long legs, which contrasted greatly with her thin and delicate collarbone under the sweater. Toru Watanabe has always been puzzled by this matter. After a simple greeting, the three of them got on the tram to Ikebukuro. The Sunday morning tram was not crowded, but there were no seats for them. They stood near the door, holding the rings. Next to the three of them was a primary school student wearing a yellow watermelon hat. It was obviously a Sunday, but for some reason, she was carrying a big school bag and appeared on the tram. She grabbed the handrail and secretly looked around to make sure that no one was looking at her. Then she pulled out a few breadcrumbs from the bag in her hand and quickly put them into her mouth. While quietly chewing, she used her round eyes to look at the people around her. When she realized that there was a gap in their line of sight, she tried hard to raise her small face. Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono were looking at her. The primary school student was so scared that her whole body trembled. She quickly turned around and hid her body behind the square school bag. Her exposed ears were red. Rin Kiyono's mouth slightly smiled. "Very cute." Toru Watanabe nodded and said. "Yes, she's very cute," Chinya Lin corrected. "Ha." Mayasahi slightly tilted her head, not knowing what the two of them were talking about. When they arrived at Ikebukuro, Mayasahi led the two of them into a shopping mall. The first floor was no different from an ordinary shopping mall. There were coffee shops, milk tea shops, bakeries, and so on. On the third floor, some strange shops appeared. Wigs, cosplay costumes, masks, wooden swords, mannequins, and so on. Seeing these shops, Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe's eyes lit up at the same time. "I didn't expect Tokyo to have such a place." Rin Kiyono was pleasantly surprised to see one of the shops. In front of the shop, there was a skull whose head was about to fall off. "Don't underestimate Tokyo." Toru Watanabe's eyes wandered around the cosplay shop. Mayasahi noticed his gaze. Her clear eyes looked at the dazzling lineup of cosplay costumes in the shop. "Watanabe, you like these?" In accordance with their agreement, she called Toru Watanabe by his surname. "How is that possible?" "It's just that when I see these, I suddenly have a lot of scary inspirations." Rin Kiyono stared at Toru Watanabe for a while, then turned to Mayasahi and said, "Tomorrow-senpai, which shop should we go to first? Do you have any suggestions?" "The shop where the items are smaller and lighter." Rin Kiyono nodded in agreement and walked into the cosplay shop. Kimono, formal dress, police uniform, nurse's uniform, doctor's white coat, maid's uniform, Hatsune, Sakura, Nameless, Saber, Little Red Riding Hood, Tsunade, Haruhiko Kasuno, Haku, Hanashiro Renonu, Rem, Girl Frontline, Soft Voice Girl, Sword God Domain, Small Ball Theory. In that instant, Toru Watanabe almost compromised with Miki Kujo's agreement. She would wear whatever he wore for him. Imagine Miki Kujo with platelets. How about? Just as Toru Watanabe was struggling at the edge of the abyss, Rin Kiyono walked over to the female lead of A Boring World Without Dirty Jokes, Hanashiro Renonu's combat uniform. "This looks like it'll be useful." She reached out to feel the white fabric. The shop owner looked at her with a strange expression. Toru Watanabe hurried over and tugged at her aqua blue sweater. Rin Kiyono turned her head in confusion. "This is..." Toru Watanabe whispered into her ear and introduced the uniform. Rin Kiyono laughed disdainfully when she heard it. "Why would I care about what others think? But I care about what others think of you. Let's forget about this." Rin Kiyono let go of Hanashiro Renonu's combat uniform. "If that's the case, what are you waiting for? Be more proactive." "Proactive?" Rin Kiyono realized that there was something wrong with her words and hurriedly explained, "I meant to pick out costumes and props." After that, she couldn't help but blush and scold him in a low voice, "Idiot." "Leave it to me." Toru Watanabe pretended that he didn't hear her last sentence. What else could he do? He couldn't just scold her back, could he? Toru Watanabe walked over to the horror clothing section while Mayasahi stood beside Rin Kiyono. "Kiyono-san, do you like Watanabe?" Her tone was still calm. "I was just about to ask you the same question, Tomorrow-senpai." Mayasahi's calm and clear eyes met Rin Kiyono's beautiful and cold eyes. "What are you two doing? Are you planning to leave everything to me?" Toru Watanabe's dissatisfied voice came from afar. Mayasahi stepped forward and walked over. Rin Kiyono stayed where she was and looked at Mayasahi, who was constantly giving Toru Watanabe suggestions. She touched her lips and fell into deep thought. After buying the costumes and wigs, they went to the mask shop and prepared to rest for a while. Do you want to go to the first floor to eat something? Toru Watanabe's arm was full of shopping bags. Okay. Masahi nodded. In order to thank Senpai, I'll treat you. Rin Kiyono also had shopping bags in her hand, but it wasn't as exaggerated as Toru Watanabe's. The three of them walked into a dessert shop. The shop was playing a song full of autumn colors, and there was a mournful atmosphere of everything withers, but it's still beautiful, isn't it? After sitting down on the sofa in the corner, Rin Kiyono, who was already tired, relaxed a little. Under the warm lighting in the shop, her gorgeous black hair outlined an angelic face. Masahi looked at the menu expressionlessly, but under the table, her feet that had taken off her shoes had already crawled into Toru Watanabe's pants. Toru Watanabe looked back and forth between the two of them. He felt that the song playing in the shop was adding to the atmosphere and hinting at the ending of the protagonist. Watanabe, what do you want to eat? Rin Kiyono said. Toru Watanabe was shocked. What are you doing? He looked at her with such a gaze. Hurry up, don't make the waiter wait for too long. Rin Kiyono said in a gentle but slightly commanding tone. Although it was Toru Watanabe felt that something was wrong, very wrong. He remembered the words he wrote on the front page of his notebook, "Be careful of R-san whenever and wherever you are." I'll have this. Toru Watanabe acted as if nothing had happened and pointed at the mousse cake decorated with blueberries. Okay, I'll order this too. Rin Kiyono said. Senior Ming-ri, what do you want? This. Masahi's slender finger pointed at the picture of the cheesecake. Just these three. Rin Kiyono said to the waiter. Okay, please wait a moment. The waiter looked at Toru Watanabe enviously and left with the menu. After the waiter left, Rin Kiyono said, I'll have to trouble Senior Ming-ri today to accompany me and Watanabe. Masahi shook her head. Toru Watanabe felt so guilty that he moved away from Masahi's feet. Could it be that he had been discovered? Watanabe, you should also say thank you to Senior Ming-ri. Rin Kiyono said again in a gentle but slightly commanding tone. Oh, thank you Senior Ming-ri. Toru Watanabe said. It's okay. Masahi hooked Toru Watanabe's feet over with her legs. Speaking of which, Seino Rin picked up the cup of black tea on the table and took a sip. Watanabe once called Minami-senpai Masaki-senpai in front of me. It's just a slip of the tongue. Toru Watanabe said, in the whole of Tokyo, I only call Miki by her name. Then what if I let you call me by my name in the future? Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe through the steam of the black tea. That depends on whether you're willing to, Kiyono-san. Rin Kiyono thought for a moment and said, if it's whether I'm willing or not, I probably won't agree. But if you insist on calling me by my name, other than at the beginning, I don't think I'll object. Toru Watanabe's heart skipped a beat. He didn't even care about the naughty legs under the table. Although he didn't know what Rin Kiyono was doing, she never lied. Wait, maybe Rin Kiyono was also the kind of person who didn't care about being called by her name. Thinking about men, slaves to women, humble males, Tokyo girls scheming, girls don't actually like you, they just want to be liked. But Rin Kiyono wasn't such a superficial person. What was she doing? What's wrong? Watanabe, you don't want to? Rin Kiyono asked with a smile. Didn't you say that you wouldn't agree? I don't like to force people. Toru Watanabe replied. He felt that Rin Kiyono's smile was teasing him. She actually had such a side to her? No, she always liked to tease him. At this time, the waiter brought over desserts. The three of them picked up their forks and started eating. Rin Kiyono cut off a piece and gently put it into her mouth. After tasting this small piece, she leisurely said, thinking about it carefully, ever since you joined the Human Observation Department, the two of us have always been together, even on Saturdays, Sundays, and Sundays. Sometimes we even stay together until midnight. That seems to be the case. Toru Watanabe ate the cake with one hand and grabbed the bottom of the table with the other, trying to reach for the leg of the pantyhose. The pantyhose felt good, smoother than mousse cake. I'm liked by many people, but because you can expose my lies, you're the only one who's willing to stay by my side for a long time. Can you tell me why? The song in the shop changed. You whisper that there's no night that won't see the light of day. I can only get through the days of worry, the times of sorrow and frustration because you're with me. It was Matsuda Masako's Glazed Earth, but it was sung by another singer. Just like the line from The Great Gatsby that you borrowed from me, only two people who are careless will get into a car accident. Toru Watanabe said, I'm used to lying, but you'll never be. That's why I like to stay by your side so that I won't lose myself. Is this your counterattack to make me like you? Toru Watanabe froze and stopped putting the cake into his mouth. What did you say? Rin Kiyono looked at the plate and replied in a muffled voice, nothing. She suddenly felt her face heat up and gave up on her plan. After eating the cake, they went to buy a human skeleton model and ended their shopping trip for the day. After returning to Four Valley Station and parting ways with Masahi, Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono went the same way for a short while. What the hell are you doing today? Toru Watanabe asked. I deliberately acted close to you, but Senpai Asahi didn't care at all and wasn't interested in our conversation at all. It seems that although something happened between the two of you, it really doesn't matter. Just because of this? Rin Kiyono was dissatisfied with his reaction and said, What do you mean by, just because of this? This is also part of human observation. What I mean is, as a lie detector, can't you just ask her directly? Toru Watanabe didn't intend to hide Masahi from Rin Kiyono. In fact, as long as Rin Kiyono really wanted to know, he couldn't hide it. But he wouldn't take the initiative to say it, and he was even more careful not to be caught red-handed. I don't like to force people to answer. Rin Kiyono only said a fact that seemed to be an answer, but didn't seem to be an answer. I feel that there are many questions in this world that are better left unanswered. Is there? For example, whether or not two people who can't be together like each other will only hurt you more if you find out. Rin Kiyono stopped in her tracks and said to Toru Watanabe, Are you talking about you and me? I'm really troubled by your honesty. I'm getting closer and closer to winning, you uncivilized ape-man Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono chuckled. I feel the same. I also feel that I'm about to win, you uncivilized ape-man Kiyono-san. The crows cawed in the sky as if pitying them for having so many bags of items hanging from their arms. Chapter 177. The 23rd, Monday, the last week of November. Compared to next week's winter camp, most students in Kamigawa cared more about this week's monthly test. Watanabe, has the Human Observation Department's club activities stopped? Osamu Kanai suddenly asked during lunch break. Human observation has never stopped, Toru Watanabe repeated Rin Kiyono's principles for governing the department. What's the matter? I want to have a study session in the library after school. Do you want to come? Study session. Osamu Kanai glanced at Keisuke Saito, who was chatting with the class leader about game strategies, and said in a low voice, And Yumi-san. Then wouldn't it be better if you two came? Toru Watanabe turned the page of Memories of Time Like Water in his hand. It's a bit awkward for us to be alone together. Osamu Kanai shyly touched his buzz cut. The atmosphere will be better with one more person, and with you, the number one in the country, there's a higher chance of me inviting her to the study session. So you haven't invited her yet. Do you agree? Osamu Kanai urged. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to study hard anyway and keep my number one in the school, Toru Watanabe said casually. Unlike the national mock exam that only tested the knowledge of the first year of high school, this time it was an internal exam that tested the knowledge of the entire high school. If he went from number one in the country to number 3 in the school, he would definitely be laughed at by the two girls, because Toru Watanabe also laughed at them last time. Good brother. Osamu Kanai patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder. What are you two talking about? Keisuke Saito came back. Nothing, Osamu Kanai replied. Watanabe was talking to me about the paid movie he saw in Kyoto last time. How was it? Is it nice? Keisuke Saito naturally lowered his voice. Toru Watanabe pondered over the French example. So. Junior girl type. I don't really like her. I thought it was senior sister. Osamu Kanai laughed evilly. TSK, give it to me. I like junior girls. Tell me their names. Keisuke Saito urged in a low voice. IPXOO. Toru Watanabe had a good memory and casually signed up for a decent movie. But she didn't seem to be his junior, but his younger sister? Or does she look like a junior? The distant memories were a little mixed up. But one thing is for sure. The girl is wearing a school uniform with the word, May, on it. Keisuke Saito should not be disappointed. Keisuke Saito picked up the pen on Toru Watanabe's desk and wrote the name on the notebook. Then, Osamu Kanai repeated the same action. After the 3 afternoon classes, Osamu Kanai was on duty. Toru Watanabe first went to the Human Observation Department to report to Department Head Kiyono about the study club. Do you need my approval? Rin Kiyono asked with a smile. Her tone and smile were ambiguous, as if she was hinting at something. The club classroom was suddenly filled with magic. Toru Watanabe relied on his strong willpower to break free from this magic. The school rules are like this. I can't do anything about it, he said. I see. Rin Kiyono nodded. I'll go too. Huh? What did you say? Her answer was a little unexpected. Toru Watanabe subconsciously confirmed it. Can't I? Rin Kiyono tilted her head slightly and asked. Toru Watanabe felt that something was wrong. This girl's words and actions today were too cute. She was usually cute too. How can that be? It's not that you can't. But don't you dislike group activities? Anyway, it's studying, right? As long as they don't say anything, I can pretend that they don't exist. Rin Kiyono smiled. Her thin lips blossomed into a smile like a flower. Her eyes were decorated with long eyelashes, and the spring after winter seemed to be hidden in them. After a few seconds of silence, Toru Watanabe said, What's wrong with you today? You're so gentle. I'm a little scared. Gentle? Didn't you notice? You looked like a girlfriend who has been conquered by me just now. Rin Kiyono rubbed her chin and pondered. It seems that overdoing it is as bad as not doing enough. Did you do that on purpose to make me like you? Toru Watanabe asked. What else could it be? Rin Kiyono laughed haughtily. Even if, and I'm saying what if, and the possibility of this is very small, if the two of us really get together, don't expect me to have a good attitude towards you who is full of lies. Forget about the attitude. At that time, can I touch your legs every day? Rin Kiyono's expression suddenly turned cold as she stared at him with a sharp gaze. Just like that, you're back to being the department head I'm familiar with. Toru Watanabe was happy. On the contrary, Rin Kiyono was expressionless, and her beautiful face looked extremely frightening. Department head, RA-san, Kiyono-san, it's time for the study session. The two of them walked out of the activity classroom and headed towards the library. Rin Kiyono didn't bring her backpack. She only held a few red exam preparation books in her arms. Let me see. Toru Watanabe reached out to her. Rin Kiyono handed the books to him. Her body heat was still lingering on them. Waseda? Toru Watanabe looked at the words on the book. Are you planning to go to Waseda? No, I've already finished all the questions from Tokyo University. Rin Kiyono replied with her arms crossed. I've also finished all the questions from Tokyo University, but I chose the second set of questions from the wisdom section. Toru Watanabe opened the book. There were about 20 pages filled with beautiful handwriting. So this question requires this kind of solution. Now it's mine. Huh? This question can also be wrong? TSK, TSK, TSK. Rin Kiyono angrily took back her red exam preparation books. She was afraid that they would be cold, so she hugged them in her arms again. Before the exam, the club activities stopped. Many people came to the library. Kanagawa High School's library wasn't as big as the university's, but there weren't as many students. There were still many empty seats. The two of them found a seat nearby so that Osamu Kunai and Aoi Ichiki could see them. After sitting down, the two of them immediately began to study without saying a word. The library was filled with warm air. Rin Kiyono's originally tense body gradually relaxed. 5 minutes later, Osamu Kunai and Aoi Ichiki walked over side by side. "Sorry, we're late." The two of them greeted each other and sat down. Rin Kiyono didn't say a word. Toru Watanabe replied with an and didn't raise his head. Aoi Ichiki took off her scarf and suit jacket. She was only wearing a shirt and a beige sweater. She rubbed her hands, took out a book of questions, and buried her head in it. Osamu Kunai looked at her, then looked at Toru Watanabe. He wanted to say something but didn't. In the end, he reluctantly started to read as well. The bell rang at 4:45. At this time of the winter, it was time to leave school. The library was still quiet. Only the buzzing of the heater could be heard. In the distance, a few students who were rushing to cram school were packing their bags and preparing to leave. Aoi Ichiki stared at a math problem for 3 minutes. In the end, she decided to ask for help from the three of them. Who should she ask? Rin Kiyono was a girl. Her grades were better than hers, but her personality was too cold. Their relationship didn't change at all after the music competition and the study trip. Toru Watanabe was the number one in the country. She could tell that he was terrifyingly smart just by looking at his eyes. But when she thought about her experience of being attacked in the music room, she decided to forget about it. Only Osamu Kunai was left. Although it was a little awkward, he wouldn't mind if she disturbed him, right? Koi-san. She whispered. What's the matter, Itsuki? Osamu Kunai had been secretly looking at Aoi Ichiki from the corner of his eyes. This question. Aoi Ichiki changed the topic. Can you help me look at it? I'm not very good at math. Oh, okay. Osamu Kunai looked at it for a minute. He had already written an entire page on the draft paper. He felt that he could find an idea if he wrote another page. But when he saw Aoi Ichiki staring at him, he decided to use outside help. Watanabe, what do you choose for this question? Toru Watanabe raised his head and looked at it. It was an inverse function question. He had to find the range of x's value. He didn't know how many times he had done the same question. He didn't even need to calculate, and he could estimate the approximate value from the options. After he drew a circle around the options, a 2-12a, he continued to do his own question. How did you do it? Tell me how you did it. After you know the answer, think about it yourself. Don't just be a beggar all day. Toru Watanabe lectured. Osamu Kunai held the question book and blinked innocently at Aoi Ichiki. The baseball player with the buzz cut made a pitiful expression. It was too abrupt. Aoi Ichiki giggled and covered her mouth. Osamu Kunai scratched his head in embarrassment. Just as he was about to continue the conversation, Rin Kiyono glanced at Aoi Ichiki, who was laughing happily. Aoi Ichiki immediately closed her mouth. She took back her question book and stared at the question. Osamu Kunai. At 6 o'clock, Rin Kiyono returned to the Human Observation Department. Aoi Ichiki also had to go to the piano department. Toru Watanabe and Osamu Kunai rarely left school together. At the shoe cabinet, Osamu Kunai said, "Can you think of a way to stop Kiyono classmate from coming tomorrow?" "What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe took out his sneakers and bent down to put them on. "I made Itsuki classmate laugh just now. I wanted to take the opportunity to chat with her, but Kiyono classmate glanced at me. I was so scared that I didn't dare to speak." "Are you stupid?" Toru Watanabe straightened up and put his indoor shoes back in the shoe cabinet. "What do you mean?" Osamu Kunai changed his shoes very quickly. He never loosened the laces and just stuffed his feet in. Aoi Ichiki likes girls. What's the point of chatting with her? Also, it's a study session. Chatting with her will only backfire. But the reason I organized the study session was to chat with her. If you chat, your grades will drop. The next time you ask her out, you'll be rejected. If you don't chat, your grades will stabilize or improve. The next time you ask her out, she'll agree. Which option do you choose? The second option. Toru Watanabe closed the shoe cabinet and patted his shoulder. As long as you stay together for a long time, there will always be a chance. You have to learn to look at problems with a long-term perspective. You're the best. Osamu Kunai was impressed. What's a long-term perspective? Can you tell me more? Let's talk at KFC. Not going to the family restaurant? Wait, it's my treat again? Did I help with the study session? Do you still want to listen to long-term perspective? Okay. I wanted to buy a new game, but I'll have to wait until next month. Osamu Kunai accepted his fate. Aren't you embarrassed? Miss Kujo's boyfriend asks me to treat him every day. What are you talking about when you own a house in Shinjuku? My family is so poor that I only have a Honda motorcycle and a K-car. The sky was getting dark, and the moon was faintly visible in the sky. After the free dinner, Toru Watanabe and Osamu Kunai said goodbye to each other in front of KFC and got on the tram to Chiyoda. Miki Kujo's courtyard was now unobstructed. Where's Miki? He asked a maid. Miss is in the bedroom. Toru Watanabe quickly went up to the third floor. Knock, knock, knock. He pretended to knock on the door gently, occasionally playing a little fun. What's going on? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me? Miki Kujo's low voice came from the other side. Knock, knock, knock. After waiting for a while, the door opened. Miki Kujo, whose face was gloomy, didn't see the situation clearly before Toru Watanabe picked her up. His left hand held Miki Kujo's round buttocks, his right hand pressed against the back of her head, and his mouth covered hers. Wait. Toru Watanabe kissed her as he walked towards the bed. At the bedside, his left hand held Miki Kujo's upper body firmly, while his other hand skillfully pulled down her pantyhose. It was taken off in one go. Even with Toru Watanabe's memory of only once seen ancient names, he couldn't remember how many times he took off Miki Kujo's pantyhose. During this process, Toru Watanabe didn't let go of her lips. That soft and tender feeling made him forget to leave. Wait a minute. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe's target shifted downwards, and he kissed her beautiful snowy neck. Miki Kujo twisted her neck as if she was afraid of being tickled. Behind. Toru Watanabe grabbed Miki Kujo's shoulder and turned her body around. While his left hand helped her gather her long hair, his lips fell on her snowy neck. His right hand lifted her skirt, and then... You're crazy. Miki Kujo pushed him. Behind you. Behind me. Toru Watanabe was still wondering what this new position was, and he habitually looked behind him. Mom. Kujo's mother nodded. It's still too early to call me Mom. Toru Watanabe slowly turned back. First, he put on Miki Kujo's crooked underwear, and then he picked up the pantyhose and was about to put it on her. You're going to put it on me if I throw it on the floor? Miki Kujo pulled her foot back unhappily. Don't move. Toru Watanabe whispered. I don't know what to do. Think of a way. He grabbed Miki Kujo's bare feet and slowly put on the pantyhose for her. Miki Kujo looked at him with disdain, pinched his waist, and wrapped her arms around his neck, half hanging on him. She rested her chin on Toru Watanabe's shoulder and said to her mother behind Toru Watanabe, It's late. It's getting late. Mother, you should go back quickly. It's only 7:00. Isn't it still early? Watanabe and I usually go to bed at 7. Kujo's mother meaningfully and teasingly said, She slowly stood up. Okay, I'll go back first today. Take care. Aren't you going to send me off, my baby girl? Do you think I can move now? Miki Kujo gestured to her leg. After so long, the pantyhose was only half worn at the knee. Kujo's mother smiled. I won't disturb you. Have fun. After the sound of the door closing, Toru Watanabe let out a sigh of relief. You scared me to death. Why did your mother suddenly come? I haven't asked you why you suddenly came. Miki Kujo took off her pantyhose. I missed you. What other reason could there be? As he spoke, Toru Watanabe pulled down Miki Kujo's short sleeves from her shoulders, revealing her delicate and charming collarbones and the upper half of her peaks. The sight in front of him was really charming. Toru Watanabe gnawed on her collarbones as if he was eating meat. Oh right. The door opened. With a whoosh, Toru Watanabe buried his face in Miki Kujo's peaks and didn't move. Give Nosuke a chance about the matter in Kanagawa. After all, we're relatives. I know. Miki Kujo stroked the back of Toru Watanabe's head. Men are like this. Can you leave now? Haha. Kujo's mother laughed as the door closed again. Did your mother do it on purpose? Toru Watanabe looked up. Probably. Miki Kujo smiled and put her hands on his shoulders. She looked down at him. Don't talk about her. Do what you should do. What is it that I should do? Toru Watanabe was confused. His hand slid down her white and tender thighs to the bottom of her skirt. What do you think? I don't know. Miki, can you teach me? Okay, I'll teach you. Stick out your tongue. Chapter 178. Toru Watanabe sat by the window with his elbows on the table. He was dozing off. Aona Koizumi walked to him and patted him on the shoulder. Toru Watanabe opened his eyes. Are you asleep? Aona Koizumi asked softly. No, I'm just resting, Toru Watanabe replied. Check again, Aona Koizumi said and walked to the first group. Watanabe Toru stared at his teacher's graceful back for 2 seconds before he rested his face on his right hand and continued to sleep. Outside the window, the clouds cut through the winter sky. It was November 27th, the last exam venue for the monthly test. The first study session was 4 days ago. The bell rang. It's time for the exam. Students, please put down your pens. Toru Watanabe yawned with his eyes half open. He only became more awake when Aona Koizumi finished collecting the papers and the classroom became noisy. Society is too difficult this time. Was it Su Liaowu or Kubilai who killed Mulei? Who knows? Why is there such a question? The history teacher must be crazy. I saw him talking about the 3 kingdoms, so I tried to read it before the exam. Now he's testing Mongolia. Kuan Watanabe, what's the result of the last math question? It was noisy until Aonai Koizumi walked into the classroom again that it finally quieted down. Thank you for your hard work. The monthly test is over. The results will be announced next week. A student raised his hand. Teacher, can we announce the results after we return from the camp? Bad results. Aona Koizumi asked with a smile. Super bad. It's too difficult. It's harder than the national exam. Everyone fought to complain. Aona Koizumi listened to them and said, If your English drops, I will be angry. The boy immediately expressed his loyalty, saying things like, Even if I die, I won't let English lose a point. I guarantee that English will be the highest score among the 5 subjects, and so on. It wasn't that there weren't any boys who could do these 2 things at the same time, but there wasn't a single one who could guarantee 100% success. Even someone as smart as Toru Watanabe couldn't guarantee that he would score the highest in English. After all, he always got full marks in a few subjects, but it was hard to say which one was the highest. After talking about the exam, Aona Koizumi gestured for everyone to keep quiet. Although we still have to announce the results, analyze the test papers, and sort out the wrong questions, we'll be going camping next week. Don't let the scores affect your mood. Students who did well in the exam, please enjoy yourself. Students who didn't do well, please enjoy yourself. Yes. Everyone cheered up again. Monitor, please distribute the camping manual. Yes. Kazumi Ikeda and the male class monitor walked up to the podium and distributed the camping handbook made by the student union to the students. Taking advantage of this time, Aona Koizumi said, "First of all, let's talk about the cost. Everyone, talk to your parents on Saturday and Sunday. Everyone, skiing and fishing. There are special facilities in the camping ground. The rental fee will also be included. During the picnic, everyone will be divided into groups. For the ingredients group, remember to buy fresh ones. For the kitchenware group, if you have any at home." After the class meeting, because school ended early, the school organized a big cleaning. Toru Watanabe was responsible for cleaning the window next to him. Just as he breathed into the window, Osamu Kanai, who was in charge of moving his desk, chatted with him while moving his desk. Watanabe. Yes. Student Itsuki is in charge of ingredients in her class, just like me. Congratulations. Toru Watanabe wiped a black spot. This is fate. Osamu Kanai moved Toru Watanabe's desk. I asked her to buy ingredients on Tuesday after school. That's good. The black spot was very stubborn. Toru Watanabe sighed. But there are a few girls in her class together. When the time comes, help me lure them away. What do you think I, Watanabe, am? The handsome second male lead next to the male lead. I'll give you one more chance. Toru Watanabe whipped the rag into the air. There was a crackling sound in the air. Barbecue at Shushu Garden later. My treat. Koizumi, what's the relationship between us? Your business is my business. You're just doing it for the barbecue, right? Why would I? We Iwate prefecture people are always willing to help others. After the window was cleaned, Toru Watanabe, who had nothing to do, was called over by the girls to help take out the trash. After a while, the cleaning was finally over. Everyone went to participate in their respective club activities. Toru Watanabe carried his backpack and slowly walked towards the Human Observation Department. In the hallway, two girls wearing sweatpants were lifting each other's skirts. When they saw Toru Watanabe, they covered their mouths and noses with their hands and shyly turned their heads to hide. If possible, Toru Watanabe hoped that the conflict between Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo could also be resolved by lifting each other's skirts. Walking through the hallway dyed red by the setting sun, he walked into the Friday activity classroom accompanied by the sound of the wind instrument practice. By the window, the beautiful girl was reading as usual. The room temperature was very comfortable. It was so warm that it made people want to sleep. And there was indeed someone who did so. Miki Kujo slept on the sofa. She didn't wake up until school was over. It seems that Toru Watanabe stayed overnight at Chiyoda's place for a week, and the after-effects were extraordinary. After the cold rain on Saturday and Sunday, it was Monday morning, which was also the morning of the first day of December. The system, useless, cheating, was refreshed. After experiencing several futile attempts, Toru Watanabe didn't care about checking the timing anymore. He opened it directly. New product. Time bookmark. Time bookmark. Time is a book. Then, let's stop reading here for today. Hint. Set the time in advance. There is no limit to how long it can be. Once used, the player will also be suspended. Does this mean that if I use this bookmark, nothing will change except that my points will be reduced by 1,000 points? Even the user himself will only know that time has been suspended. There will be no difference from other people? Is it just to cheat points? Does it not intend to suspend time at all? Toru Watanabe spent 5,000 points to exchange for 5 bookmarks, betting that Yu Shang might respawn an item that could make him immune to time suspension. Next was the skills. Skills: Beginner, Singing, 100, Beginner, Bread Baking, 1,000, Master, Snooker, 10,000, Master, Coronary Artery Bypass Transplantation, 100,000. What's a coronary artery? Toru Watanabe thought that it might be human alchemy and wiped the black screen to light up his phone. Unable to adapt to the strong light, he subconsciously squinted his eyes. After a while, he threw his phone aside and went to sleep. Heart bypass surgery is heart bypass surgery. Why are you talking about coronary artery bypass transplantation? Are you bullying me because I don't read medical books? December 1st. It was drizzling and the southwest wind was blowing. After doing sit-ups and push-ups, Toru Watanabe took a shower and walked down the stairs of his rental house. He looked up at the sky through the transparent umbrella. The breath he exhaled from his mouth flew in the wind like white clouds. Every time the white fog floated up and dissipated in the rain, the coldness seemed to increase. He was still wearing a shirt and a suit jacket today, and the jacket was unbuttoned. All the credit should be due to the chi and blood medicine. Even if he had been exercising every day since spring, Toru Watanabe still knew his limits. Not being arrogant like this is also one of the things that makes me amazing. I learned the brackets from Rin Kiyono. Toru Watanabe spun the transparent umbrella, and the rain formed a small waterfall. He walked towards the train station. It was raining, and the shoe cabinet was wet. There were water droplets from the umbrella and dirty water from the soles of the students' feet. Toru Watanabe put the umbrella in the bucket and took out the love letter and indoor shoes from the shoe cabinet. He stuffed the love letter into his bag and was putting on his shoes when Rin Kiyono walked over. She wrapped herself up tightly. Apart from a scarf, she wore a beautiful and fashionable winter coat over her school uniform. "Good morning, Kiyono." "Good morning." Rin Kiyono only showed her eyes and glanced at him, then glanced at his unbuttoned uniform. "It's not to be cool." "I'm really not cold," Toru Watanabe said. "Lies." It's true that I'm not trying to be cool, but I'm really not cold. If you don't believe me, feel my hand." As he spoke, Toru Watanabe subconsciously took his right hand out of his pocket and reached out towards Rin Kiyono. Halfway through, he suddenly realized that this action was inappropriate. Moreover, Rin Kiyono could tell if he was lying or not. He was about to put his hand back into his pocket, but Rin Kiyono had already grabbed his hand. Her hand was unimaginably cold, like walking barefoot on the tiles in winter. Her hand was very small and tender, like a newborn deer. It was so small and pitiful. Rin Kiyono nodded, as if acknowledging that he was not cold. She slowly continued to change her shoes. Toru Watanabe stood beside her, wondering if he should give her some chi and blood medicine. It was indeed a good thing, worthy of the awkward introduction of nourishing the innate, nurturing the acquired, nourishing the source of life. But Rin Kiyono's body was cold, and she was afraid of the cold for a long time. If she suddenly got better this winter, the Missy at home would definitely notice. Kiyono's spirit had never exercised. With such a sudden change, Miki Kujo would immediately point the finger at him, who had a criminal record. Then, hiding the chi and blood medicine would be a small matter. If he didn't give it to his girlfriend and gave it to another woman, it would definitely usher in a bloody winter. It was really difficult. Rin Kiyono changed her shoes, and the two of them walked towards the floor where the first year of high school was. Toru Watanabe knew that she was too cold to talk, so he didn't initiate a conversation. Smelling her fresh and clear scent, which was a bit like the first breath of air in the winter morning, Toru Watanabe went into his classroom without saying a word. In the classroom, the muscular Osamu Kunai also put on a knitted sweater. Regarding Toru Watanabe's arrogant outfit, the boys and girls of Class 4 all thought that he was just acting cool. Toru Watanabe was too lazy to explain to them. He didn't want to let these people touch his hand. At noon, the academic results were posted. Although it was raining and the corridor where the results were posted was full of water, it was still crowded with people. Osamu Kunai was concerned about Aoi Ichiki's results, so he dragged Toru Watanabe and Keisuke Saito along. "Excuse me." As soon as Toru Watanabe opened his mouth, a girl in the innermost row shouted, "Kun Watanabe, you're first again. Congratulations." "Thank you." Toru Watanabe raised his voice in response. "Where's mine? Where's mine?" Keisuke Saito raised his hand. The girl looked back and saw who it was. She recognized that it was the boy who played with Toru Watanabe and glanced at the ranking. Saito, you're 29th. Woo! Keisuke Saito waved his arm. I'm finally in the top 30. It's not a waste to go to cram school every day. Osamu Kanai didn't ask. Relying on his excellent physique, he kept squeezing his way in. Other than his own results, he also wanted to see Aoi Ichiki's results. Obviously, he couldn't let others know that he was looking at Aoi Ichiki's results. Toru Watanabe and Keisuke Saito waited at the side. Is Kunai an idiot? Keisuke Saito casually mocked him. Then, he talked to Toru Watanabe about his painful experience in cram school. That teacher is crazy. Every day, there's a test, and after the test, there's an explanation. Then, there's another test immediately. Even when going to the toilet, he has to watch the time. After a while, Osamu Kanai came out. I've improved too. He excitedly wrapped his wrist around Keisuke Saito's neck. Toru Watanabe knew what he meant. Not only did he improve, Aoi Ichiki also improved. Seems like studying is effective. We can continue next time. After all, he ate KFC, so Toru Watanabe's words were pleasant to hear. I'll leave it to you then. Osamu Kanai let go of Keisuke Saito, who was struggling helplessly, and punched Toru Watanabe's chest. Study club? Keisuke Saito rubbed his neck and shouted. What did you guys do behind my back? Why didn't you call me? I told you before. You said you wanted to study in the computer research department. I was trying my best to play games. Do you know what time I'm in cram school at night? Remember to call me next time. The three of them chatted and laughed as they returned to class. 4 Kamigawa students who were committed to studying, they could only enjoy the winter camping if they got good grades in the monthly test. If their grades dropped, they would be afraid to invite girls to dance at the bonfire party because it would affect their studies. After school, Miki Kujo wasn't there, and Rin Kiyono was a patient, so Toru Watanabe didn't want to mock them. He could only wait for the cherry blossoms to bloom tomorrow to mock them. After the exam week, 2 days of analyzing test papers passed in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, it was Tuesday, the day before the winter camping. After school, Toru Watanabe followed Osamu Kunai to buy ingredients for the picnic. For the sake of the barbecue in Shushu Park, he played the role of the handsome second male lead beside the male lead, so that the other girls wouldn't disturb Osamu Kunai. How was your chat? After parting with the girls, he asked Osamu Kunai. As you said, we agreed to participate in the test together. Osamu Kunai said excitedly. Leave the rest to me. I guarantee that she'll be scared into your arms. It's not good for us to scheme against a girl like this, right? Then I won't be scared. No, I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously, Uncle Watanabe. You're just a cheap person. As long as it's not illegal to chase a girl, you can use any method. Be a little more ruthless. A mere test is nothing. Next time, I'll teach you a few tricks. I won't eat your dinner for free. Before Toru Watanabe could finish bragging, his system flashed. You have a new message. After parting ways with Osamu Kunai, he took the tram back to his apartment. He clicked on it. Temporary event. On December 4th, after dark, East Kyoto Kamigawa Private High School will hold a bonfire party. Event content. Dear player, do you remember the women's court training at the Kyoto High School restaurant? At the end of the bonfire party, hold hands with Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo and dance with them. Event duration. Before the end of the final song. Event reward. Wish list. Wish list. Write down your skills. The shop will refresh next month. Beginner, basic, expert, and master. Toru Watanabe looked at this event. No warning about personal risks. Chapter 179. From the map drawn by the art department in the camping manual, the location of the winter camping was very far away, and it was definitely not as simple as near Tokyo. But in general, the entire island country was not that big. A casual trip was across provinces, and it was not wrong to say that it was near. The school bus crossed several cities and mountains to the west, and the scenery gradually became desolate. When they entered a forest of fir trees that rose from the ground and suddenly opened up, they could see the wooden house of the camping ground. Sitting on the bus, they could see the ridge of the snow mountain in the distance, as well as the cable car that went up the mountain. After getting off the bus, put your luggage in your rooms first, and then gather at the outdoor cooking table. The ingredients team remembered to bring the ingredients. Yes, and the logistics team. After Aona Koizumi tirelessly reminded them, Class 4 finally got off the bus. After leaving the heated school bus, the cold air blew against their faces. It's so cold. It's so cold, so cold. Look over there. It's all snow. Charge. Yamazaki, come back quickly. It's not time for you to move freely yet. Okay, Yamazaki replied in a voice that was both dejected and excited. Toru Watanabe and the boys of Class 4 unloaded all their luggage together before taking their things into the wooden house. After choosing their beds, they gathered. Under a simple shed made of steel, there were rows of cooking tables, chopping boards, faucets, bonfire basins made of bricks, and so on. There were many people there, and students from other classes had already started cooking. Boys, can't you clean the basin after using it? The ingredients have already been washed, so what's wrong with putting them together? That's a different ingredient. The smell of raw meat is mixed with vegetables. What does it matter? In any case, they will be cooked together in the end. That's why I said, you boys are really useless. Ha-dash. Alright, stop arguing. The battle sounded quite intense. Toru Watanabe was very confident in his cooking skills, so he went to the forest to pick up firewood. As he walked into the forest, the noise from the kitchen counter immediately became inaudible, as if there were several layers of filter paper. When people's voices became softer, the flapping of the birds' wings became louder. It was very much like the scene described in the notes of the drunkard's pavilion. The forest is shady, the birds sing up and down, the wanderers leave, and the birds are happy. Toru Watanabe was in a good mood. He hummed the song Glazed Earth as he walked. Watanabe-san, if you really like Matsuda Masako, you shouldn't sing her songs. Rin Kiyono was the only person who dared to speak to a handsome Tokyo guy like that. Toru Watanabe looked in the direction of the sound. The sunlight pierced through the forest, forming pillars of light. One of the biggest pillars of light shone on the beautiful girl sitting on the wooden stump. Her body seemed to merge with the warm winter sun as she spread her wings and turned into an angel. However, the pile of firewood at the beautiful girl's feet pulled her back, turning her into an ordinary, overly cute girl who collected firewood. Are you following me? Toru Watanabe said. For this kind of topic, Rin Kiyono was too lazy to answer. She quietly enjoyed the sun. It seemed that the sun didn't favor her because she was too beautiful, but because she was afraid of the cold, so she deliberately found a place with sun. Toru Watanabe walked over and stood between her and the sun. Rin Kiyono looked at him. Please don't do such a childish thing. I haven't touched Kiyono-san's face. I absolutely can't let the sun touch it. The beautiful girl sighed as if she couldn't do anything about him. She patted her side, indicating Toru Watanabe to also sit down. Toru Watanabe sat down a little distance away from her. This position was completely out of the sun. Why are you also collecting firewood? Aren't you good at cooking? He put the firewood in his hand at his feet and looked at the bundle that Rin Kiyono picked up. I don't want to cook for others. Why? They don't deserve it. Don't deserve it. Toru Watanabe bent down and looked for a suitable weapon in Rin Kiyono's firewood. The main reason is because every one of them is lying. The secondary reason is that I hate crowds. Rin Kiyono seemed to be thinking about the scene of being surrounded by people, and her expression became slightly impatient. Then she added, "Oh, there's also a very small part of it because of status." As expected of the god Sama Kiyono who never lies. Toru Watanabe said, "But I didn't expect that you also have the concept of status difference. I thought that you advocated equality." Rin Kiyono reached out to the sun. Her originally cold palm emitted a burst of warmth. "The environment I grew up in affects my values, but it's actually not important. If they don't lie and don't crowd around me, I don't mind cooking," she said. "You said so much, but in your heart you still have a difference in status, right? But I already knew that you weren't a good woman, since you used all kinds of despicable means to make me fall in love with you. Don't you like bad women? What are you looking for?" Rin Kiyono lowered her head and looked over. Her originally neat firewood was now in a mess. She frowned at the sight of it. Toru Watanabe straightened his back, and a 30-centimeter-long branch appeared in his hand. He slowly stroked the wooden stick, as if he was holding something fragile in his hand. 15 inches, elder wood, the core of the staff is the tail feather of a night finch. Toru Watanabe muttered. Rin Kiyono pressed the space between her eyebrows as if she had a headache. Her beautiful face was filled with helplessness. Toru Watanabe used Voldemort's graceful posture to point the wooden stick at the sky. "Call the wind and summon the rain." The sun was still shining brightly. The birds in the distance were startled, and the sound of their wings flapping became louder. "Oh, I see." Toru Watanabe seemed to understand something as he muttered to himself, "Is it because I didn't kill the original owner, so you're still unwilling to pledge your loyalty to me? You're already 16 years old, Watanabe-san. Do you know Leonardo? The one who froze to death on the Titanic at the age of 20 is still playing with a water gun at the age of 42. The one who froze to death was the 20-year-old Jack he played. You have to learn to grasp the main point, Kiyono-san. What I mean is, there are people who play with water guns at the age of 42, so it's reasonable for me to play with a magic wand at the age of 16. There was silence in the forest, only the sound of birds chirping could be heard. Rin Kiyono suddenly laughed softly. She used a helpless and amused tone and sighed, "You always have a lot of reasons." Rin Kiyono's laughter came from the bottom of her heart. Toru Watanabe hadn't seen it for a long time. Even though he couldn't bask in the sun, he still felt a warm current flowing through his body. "Wait. Rin Kiyono looked at him in confusion. "You're not using despicable means to make me like you again, are you?" "No, what's next is..." Rin Kiyono took the old magic wand and pointed it at Toru Watanabe. "Fall in love with me, Watanabe, the infatuation curse." She leaned over slightly, and the two of them stared at each other at an extremely close distance. Her lustrous lips exhaled a warm breath mixed with a faint white mist. Her eyes were as deep and charming as the Milky Way in spring. Her long hair was as smooth and black as silk. Her voice was clear, her waist was slender, and her soul was strong and lonely. Was this the infatuation curse? Toru Watanabe's heart felt like it had stopped beating. "I have to go find my Mickey." He stood up. "Are you moved? Can't control yourself? Have you fallen in love with me?" Rin Kiyono stared straight at him. "Don't talk nonsense. I just want to be best friends with you." Best friends. This is the first day of camping. There are still 2 days left. I'll make you change your mind. I'll definitely win this game. Goodbye. Toru Watanabe took back the old magic wand, picked up the firewood, and disappeared into the forest. Rin Kiyono suddenly realized that something was wrong. "Why did you take mine away?" Toru Watanabe waved his hand without looking back. He seemed very pleased with himself. Rin Kiyono closed her eyes. She didn't like noise and the cold. She really liked this forest where she could bask in the sun. Coward. Asterisk 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 asterisk. He walked out of the forest and arrived at the kitchen counter. "Where should I put the firewood?" he asked Kazumi Ikeda. Kazumi Ikeda was beating eggs quickly. "Kuan Watanabe, thanks for your hard work. Send it to the cooking place. It's over there." Toru Watanabe walked in the direction indicated by her chin. Almost all the boys here were kicked out of the kitchen counter because they were clumsy. Keisuke Saito and the male class monitor squatted in front of a pit, guarding a box of rice that was placed directly on the fire. The light of the fire illuminated their faces. "Where's Kunai?" Toru Watanabe squatted beside them. "Chopping firewood." Keisuke Saito pointed at a place not far from the kitchen counter. "Chopping firewood now? Aren't we waiting for the bonfire party? When you come back, it'll be dark. We can eat dinner directly." The male class monitor adjusted his glasses. "You secretly went to class too? Mickey is sleeping. Why would I go to class too? What are you guys talking about?" "We're talking about the bonfire party," Keisuke Saito said. "We're not like you who have girlfriends. We have to find a way to find one. You're the one who wants to find one. I don't need one." The male class monitor raised his glasses with his middle finger. The three of them chatted for a while. A girl came over to ask if the food was ready. The male class monitor put on a pair of gloves and opened the metal box. "It seems to be burnt." "It's burnt." Keisuke Saito also smelled the burnt smell. "I say, what's the use of you guys? You don't know how to cook, but you can still burn the rice. You're so bad. You guys are responsible for eating this box of rice yourselves. By the way, Kun Watanabe doesn't need to. It's been hard on you to pick up so much firewood. The burnt rice has nothing to do with you." "That's not right." Keisuke Saito stood up. "It's because this guy was chatting with us that the rice got burnt. That's still your fault. You were in charge of cooking. Why did you only chat with us?" "That." The male class monitor stood up and put a hand on Keisuke Saito's shoulder. "Forget it. It's just a little burnt. It's still edible. At least let Watanabe come with us?" Keisuke Saito said unwillingly. "I'm indeed responsible. I'll eat this box of rice too." Toru Watanabe took 2 pieces of firewood and picked up the box of rice. Only the bottom was slightly burnt. The other parts only had a burnt smell. It could still be eaten if they tried to salvage it. Of course, the taste would be a little worse. "Look." Keisuke Saito pointed at Toru Watanabe and said to the girls, "He said it himself." The girls communicated with each other and said to him angrily, "Then forget about this box of rice. It's a bargain for the two of you." They rolled their eyes at Keisuke Saito and the class monitor, then turned and walked back to the kitchen table. "Is being treated so well because he's handsome?" Keisuke Saito doubted his life. "He's not just handsome." The male class monitor wiped his glasses and left the fire pit. His glasses fogged in the cold. "His grades are good. He's good at sports. He even played the national gold solo in the blowing competition. I suddenly want to kill someone." "You can't beat him." The male class monitor put on his glasses. The lenses were reflecting the light. "Is there no other way? You can consider giving him your collection of girly games. When he's addicted, he can secretly report it to Kujo classmate. You should be able to see him get scolded." Keisuke Saito clapped his hands. "Let's do it. You too." Toru Watanabe disposed of the burnt rice. "How dare you discuss how to deal with me in front of me? It's all thanks to me that you can eat normal rice. I'd rather eat burnt rice. I'd rather eat burnt rice." Jealousy was scary. The curry for lunch was delicious. In fact, it didn't taste any better than at home or in the restaurant. It was delicious because the picnic was 3 times more delicious, and because the 16-year-old girl cooked it herself. After lunch, there was a 2-hour experiential learning class in the afternoon. They learned about the history of the campsite, precautions, and how to save themselves. "If something happens to me, remember to ask the girls to give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation," Keisuke Saito said. "Compared to being resuscitated, I prefer to save people. For example, CPR." The male class monitor adjusted his glasses. "Watanabe, I'm going to collapse. You understand, right?" Osamu Kanai gave Toru Watanabe a knowing look. "If possible, I hope that nothing happens. whether it's you or the other students, Toru Watanabe replied. Toru Watanabe couldn't understand what was going on between men and women when they practiced CPR. He used his phone to send a message to Rin Kiyono, who was in a group of people not far away. With your physique, there's a high chance that something will happen. Why don't you book a trainee for mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Rin Kiyono was flipping through the first aid pamphlet when she felt her phone vibrate. She took it out of her clothes. Toru Watanabe saw her tapping on the keyboard with her slender fingers. Not long after, her reply popped up on the interface. When you need mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, can the trainee make it in time? I'll book you, do you dare? I won't put you in danger of needing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. After this sentence, Toru Watanabe sent a cute fist-clenching emoji. You're more timid than I thought. This is called being responsible. I won't indulge in beauty, and I won't lose to you. You'll definitely fall in love with me first, and when you can't extricate yourself, I'll ruthlessly dump you. I look forward to your performance. After the experiential learning class, it was free time. But as the committee member of the courage test, Toru Watanabe had to start making arrangements. First, he had to meet up with Rin Kiyono, and then he had to find Miki Kujo. Miki Kujo didn't sleep with her female classmates. She stayed in a luxurious room with a private hot spring. When the two of them arrived, she was sleeping soundly. Miki, let's go, Toru Watanabe said. Miki Kujo, do you need my help? Rin Kiyono showed a cruel but kind smile. If you're not afraid of her. Toru Watanabe made a do-as-you-please gesture to his girlfriend who was lying on the bed. I'm afraid of her? Not everyone is like you, Toru Watanabe classmate. Rin Kiyono walked with cold steps to the side of the bed and stretched out her cold hands. At the moment of contact, the second when their bodies started to exchange heat, Miki Kujo opened her eyes. She didn't shout, didn't make any other movements, and even her expression didn't change. But vaguely, from her calmness, another ferocious face could be seen. Looking at Rin Kiyono's comfortable expression, Toru Watanabe quietly took 2 steps back. I underestimated you. Miki Kujo sneered. She suddenly reached out and grabbed the cold hand that was covering her neck. Take care of your girlfriend. Rin Kiyono turned around and looked at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe whistled. It was glazed earth. You? Rin Kiyono's beautiful eyes widened slightly. Miki Kujo, who had 5 points of stamina, took care of Rin Kiyono, who had 3 points of stamina, effortlessly. All it took was a gentle tug and press. You like to cover your hands? Miki Kujo pressed Rin Kiyono on the bed, grabbed Rin Kiyono's cold hands, and put them into Rin Kiyono's clothes. Hiss! Rin Kiyono subconsciously sucked in a breath. Then, although she frowned, she didn't say a word. Miki Kujo leaned down and whispered into Rin Kiyono's ear, You were the one who made the first move. Do you think you can make me submit like this? You only make me think that you're childish. Rin Kiyono's voice was cold. Miki Kujo sneered, You put your hand on someone else's neck, what right do you have to call someone else childish? This is just a method to wake you up for the courage trial. You can say whatever you want, it's fine if it's childish, but I'll wait for your hand to warm up. Miki Kujo's expression was relaxed. Rin Kiyono didn't say a word. Miki Kujo continued in a leisurely tone. In other aspects, you can barely be considered my opponent, but in terms of stamina, you're only comparable to a primary school student. That's rude of me. I was once neck and neck with Toru Watanabe classmate in long-distance running. You? Now that I think about it, his stamina wasn't good before, and he only had the strength now after training. How long ago was that, and you still have the nerve to bring it up? Toru Watanabe looked at the two who were already chatting and walked forward. Miki, you've had enough fun, we still have to prepare for the courage trial, he said. Miki Kujo turned around. You care about her? How is that possible? Lies. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono in disbelief. I helped you, and you treat me like this. You put me in danger, And then you help me? This is your help? Miki Kujo slowly let go and sat by the bed. She crossed her arms, crossed her slender legs, and looked at Toru Watanabe. Behind her, the liberated Rin Kiyono also sat up, kneeling on the big bed that still had Miki Kujo's body temperature, and rubbed his wrist to enjoy the scene. Miki, listen to me. Speak. Miki Kujo spat out a word coldly. I'm worried about her, mainly because her body is too weak. If she catches a cold and dies, it'll be hard to explain to Kiyono's family. You're worried about Kiyono's family's revenge, not that she's sick. Of course. Toru Watanabe raised his right hand. I can swear on this campsite, if it's a lie, there will be an avalanche. You're always so glib, Miki Kujo said coldly. I really didn't. Enough. Miki Kujo interrupted him. Bring me my pants and clothes. Yes. Toru Watanabe went to pick out the clothes and pants, and Rin Kiyono was surprised. You're letting him go just like that? She asked. Miki Kujo glanced back at her. You're so eager to help me determine whether it's true or not, did you suddenly become a good person? If I don't punish him, he'll only hold a grudge against you. But he's really worried about me. Toru Watanabe, who was picking out the underwear, couldn't bear it. Kiyono-san, we're a couple arguing, why are you interrupting? Also, how long do you want to laze around on my girlfriend's bed? Miki Kujo looked at Rin Kiyono and sneered. She didn't care about Toru Watanabe's presence, and said, I'll deal with him in many ways, after we get married, I'll deal with him. These two were really scary, and Toru Watanabe felt desperate. So he chose black underwear. Chapter 180. Miki Kujo put on her clothes, and the three of them went to the parking lot. Toru Watanabe opened the luggage compartment of the school bus. These are the props for the test of courage. My part is on the first bus, Rin Kiyono said. That much? Miki Kujo said impatiently. It's just a test of courage. You can just scare people. No matter what the reason is for being a committee member of the test of courage, we should do this well. How many years can you live, Kiyono? According to your methods, most people will achieve nothing in their lives. Do you think a person who does everything that he should do will be a failure, Kujo-san? Most things are worthless. Spending time on them is pure suicide. For example, this test of courage. You don't care about one thing, two things, and when you want to be serious, you can't be serious. It had only been a few minutes, and they were arguing again. Was arguing not a waste of time? Or was arguing something that had to be done well? Toru Watanabe walked silently to the first bus and moved Rin Kiyono's part of the props. The two of them were still arguing, and the white breath coming out of their seductive lips seemed to be fighting as well, mixing together. Ladies, it's time to go. Toru Watanabe carried the relatively heavy props, such as human skeletons, and the two of them took the lighter ones and walked into the forest together. This was a mixed forest dominated by pine trees, and it still had vitality and greenery that couldn't be underestimated in winter. If the wind blew at night, the shadows of the trees would dance, and there was no need to pretend to be ghosts. The timid people would be scared. Yellow leaves and dead branches were scattered on the road, and there was a crisp sound when stepped on. The three of them didn't walk for long on the forest path before turning a corner. Let's start here. Rin Kiyono looked around. We don't need to be too scary at the beginning. Just tell everyone that the test of courage has officially begun. I think it's better to scare them at the beginning, Miki Kujo said. Rin Kiyono looked over. Without waiting for her to speak, Toru Watanabe spoke first. Miki, you're already working hard. Let Kiyono think about this kind of thing. Are you helping her? Miki Kujo asked with a smile. Toru Watanabe-san, Kujo-san, if it's a normal suggestion, do you think that I would reject it without hesitation? Rin Kiyono's expression was ice-cold. Toru Watanabe looked up at the corner of the sky that was peeking out from the forest. He was so sorrowful that he could hardly restrain himself. Miki Kujo glared at him unhappily. Rin Kiyono looked at him with a smug smile. In short, the arrangement of the courage test was slowly pushed forward in this kind of atmosphere. Toru Watanabe climbed trees, crouched on the ground, and collected dead leaves. Finally, he finished his work. After it was over, there was still some time before the official start. The three of them returned to the camp to rest and eat dinner first. Toru Watanabe had just returned to the wooden house and lay on the bed when Osamu Kunai, who had been playing mahjong, came over. "How's the arrangement going?" He couldn't wait to ask. "Be mentally prepared. Don't be scared," Toru Watanabe said. "Tell me what you have first." "I'm definitely not afraid." Toru Watanabe was so tired that he just wanted to rest. After all, he still had to face the two young ladies tonight and in the future. But since he had eaten a few meals with him, he still told him all the props. After listening to the arrangement, Osamu Kunai left satisfied. Just when Toru Watanabe thought that he could sleep for a while, Osamu Kunai's roar was loud enough to trigger an avalanche. "Where are my 3 10,000? Did you change my cards?" Then, Keisuke Saito and the others were scolding him for being wronged. "What's the point of sleeping?" Toru Watanabe simply took out his phone and prepared to play for a while before going to eat dinner. He sent the photos he took during the day to his family. At this time, Kumiko suddenly sent a message. It was a recent practice video. He sent her a copy of the photo. "That's great. I also want to go camping." "Your school also has this kind of activity, right? It's called different. Forest school, seaside school, etc." "Yes, there is, but there is no skiing, no off-road vehicles, no hot springs, and even no special school bus. There is also no me. Blurg. Vomiting is too much." "Alright, did you see the practice video I sent you?" "Praise me." While chatting with Kumiko and dealing with his mother's advice to wear more clothes, pay attention to safety, and remember to go home for the new year. In the blink of an eye, it was dinner time. After dinner, the trio of the courage testing assembly gathered together again. The two young ladies took the time to take a shower and change into beautiful clothes. Miki Kujo's clothes were gorgeous and elegant. Rin Kiyono's clothes were simple and exquisite. As for Toru Watanabe, everything suited him very well. He was extraordinarily handsome. Such a group of three had to play the role of evil ghosts. But according to the current trend, ghosts must be good-looking. Toru Watanabe walked in front with a flashlight. The other two followed behind him. The three of them went to the props area. Toru Watanabe was the one playing the ghost, so he had to change. Miki Kujo didn't know how to do this. She was only responsible for playing the music. Rin Kiyono, in this kind of weather, if she wore the costume, she might really turn into a ghost. She was responsible for directing and all the other chores except for the music. Toru Watanabe took off his jacket and prepared to put on the costume. "Give it to me." Rin Kiyono stretched out her hand and signaled Toru Watanabe to give her the jacket. "Here we go again." Toru Watanabe looked back and forth between Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono. Miki Kujo sneered. "What are you hesitating for?" "Nothing." Toru Watanabe gave her the jacket. Miki Kujo looked at the jacket in disdain. Even if she had only worn it once, it was still trash to her. Toru Watanabe put on the costume and secretly looked at Rin Kiyono. Her expression was unexpected. Her eyes were fixed on her own hands, and she was a little lost in thought. When she looked up and noticed Toru Watanabe's eyes, she immediately looked away. The test of courage was free to participate. Couples or men and women who hadn't become a couple yet had romantic fantasies about this event. In addition, there were also some boys and girls groups who wanted to join in the fun. They gathered at the entrance, lined up, and entered the dark forest in groups. Osamu Kunai invited Aoi Ichiki as he wished, but there were also two girls from Class 3. She means to refuse. This was Toru Watanabe's analysis at that time. That's nothing at all. In Koshien, I was the hitter who caught Chunichi's starting pitcher Matsui Daikawa. This was his answer at that time. What's the relationship between the two? Toru Watanabe complained at that time. While waiting, there were screams from time to time in the forest, which made the people in the waiting area look forward to it and nervous. Why didn't he talk to Aoi Ichiki for so long? Because Aoi Ichiki was in class 3, he didn't dare to talk to her. If only he had Toru Watanabe's thick skin. No, if it was Toru Watanabe, these girls might have pretended to be afraid and surrounded him. The evidence was their current conversation. What if we see Kuan Watanabe later? Of course we'll pretend to be scared. Then we'll be so scared that we don't know what to do and fall on him. Ha ha ha, you're so brave, Kujo-san is still here. I'm not brave, I'm scared of ghosts, it's just an accident. Osamu Kunai glanced at Aoi Ichiki in the crowd. That's right, everything that happened next was an accident. Soon, it was their turn. As a boy, Osamu Kunai volunteered, I'll walk in front, Itsuki-san, you guys can follow behind me. No need, the girl who wanted to jump into Toru Watanabe's arms said. Wait a minute. Another girl pulled her and whispered, we'll stay behind Kuji-san and pretend to be scared and pitiful. The girl's eyes lit up as she instantly understood what her friend meant. Okay, thank you Kuji-san, the girl nodded excitedly. Osamu Kunai nodded silently and walked in front to lead the way. They weren't allowed to bring any lighting for the test, and they weren't allowed to use their cell phones' flashlights either. It doesn't seem like anything. It hasn't started yet. They reached the end of the path and turned a corner. Osamu Kunai and Aoi Ichiki walked over first, and the two girls behind them were about to follow when a light suddenly lit up at their feet. Ah! The two girls screamed in fear. The light shone from below onto the face of Ksitagaba Bodhisattva. Ksitagaba Bodhisattva's eerie laughter could be vaguely heard from the darkness of the forest. The atmosphere was strange. It's about to start, Itsuki-san, if you're scared, you can grab onto my clothes. Osamu Kunai was a little scared when he said the words he had long prepared. It was just like how he couldn't help but be scared even though he knew that horror movies were made for horror movies. Okay, thank you Kuji-san. The more Aoi Ichiki looked at the Ksitagaba Bodhisattva, the more scared she was. Osamu Kunai calmed down and continued to walk forward. After a few steps, the light behind them suddenly went out with a click. Why is there a switch sound? They laughed and looked back, ready to catch the person. The Ksitagaba Bodhisattva was looking at them with a mocking face. Just now, its face wasn't facing this way, right? It didn't seem to be laughing either. Let's go. Okay. They quickened their pace. The eerie laughter behind them became more and more real, as if it was closer to them. The dried leaves under their feet rustled, and from time to time, a shadow would appear in the forest, silently watching them. It doesn't seem that scary, a girl said with a trembling voice. It's just some dolls and paper people that can't move. Another girl said. But all of a sudden, a light shadow slowly descended from a tall branch in front of him. It was watching them. The two girls and Aoi Ichiki leaned against each other and slowly moved forward, afraid that the shadow would move again. The wind rustled the branches and leaves, and the shadow's whispers. Is it talking? I don't think so, it should be a model. Before they could finish, the shadow moved again. It came down from the branch and glided slowly towards the four of them. Ah! The three girls screamed in fear. As the shadow got closer, they could see what it looked like. It had an ugly, wrinkled face like a bat's, and large, soft ears. Its body was that of a mouse, and its hands were small and thin, as if they had just been taken out of its mother's amniotic fluid. Ah! There was another scream, and the three hurriedly ran forward. Osamu Kunai was also shocked by the bat face, and he swallowed his saliva and ran after the three girls. After running for a while, the area in front of them suddenly widened. It was a circular flat ground, and in the middle of it was a huge rock with its bottom stained with blood. A person was squatting beside the rock, his back facing them. The three girls did not dare to move forward, and waited for Osamu Kunai to come closer. I'll go take a look, Osamu Kunai said. Okay, be careful. Aoi Ichiki grabbed her friend's arm and said with a frightened face. Don't worry. Osamu Kunai took 2 steps closer to the shadow. Watanabe, is that you? I recognized you when I saw your back. Yes, yes, yes. The shadow stood up and looked back at them while chewing on something. You're too early, I'm not ready yet. Toru Watanabe leaned over unhappily. His hair was still intact, but the right side of his head was missing, and his brain was exposed, wriggling slowly. His mouth was covered in blood, and one of his eyes was wide open without an eyelid. But judging from his body and voice, it was definitely Toru Watanabe. The girls relaxed and walked forward. What, you're too early. Kuin Watanabe, you look like you're real. If we wait until you're ready, we'll definitely be shocked. The fear in their hearts faded away, and they gradually became bolder. Kuin Watanabe, what are you eating? A girl asked. Oh, this. Toru Watanabe handed over his finger. It looks so real, and it's bleeding. Even the fingernails are so delicate. Is this delicious? Toru Watanabe said, It's delicious, it's Mickey's. Ha ha ha, Kujo-san is too pitiful. For the sake of the test, even his finger was sacrificed. The 3 of them laughed and took turns playing with the finger. One of the girls said, Is it candy flavored? As she said that, she took a bite. How is it? What does it taste like? Aoi Ichiki asked curiously. The girl slowly took the finger out of her mouth. On the white skin of the finger, there was a circle of teeth marks, as if a real hand was bitten. The girl looked at the finger, and her heart suddenly felt a little cold. The other 2 girls also quietly watched this scene. Don't you want to eat? Unknowingly, Toru Watanabe had already leaned over. Ah! The 3 of them were shocked. I say, why are you so scary? As he said that, Osamu Kunai reached out to grab Toru Watanabe. At this time, Guajing! Run! A roar suddenly came from the forest. Looking at the direction of the sound, in the distance, a person holding a tree trunk next to him looked over here. What? That's Kuin Watanabe's voice. The 4 of them looked at Toru Watanabe next to them. His brain was pulsing, and blood was dripping from his mouth. Dash, like a machine spitting out gas, a cold ice breath came out of his mouth. Run! The figure in the distance bowed and shouted again. What's going on? Why are there 2 Kuin Watanabe? It's fake, right? The Toru Watanabe in front of them silently walked to the boulder, and then slowly lifted it. He turned around, and said to the 4 of them, This time, I won't smash your brain. Blood was dripping from the boulder, and in the place where it was just now, a slender figure in a dress was lying there. The upper body was blurred, the palm was still bleeding, and the finger was missing. Dash, the girl who held the finger, threw it away. The 3 of them were too scared to move. Toru Watanabe walked over with the boulder. At the same time, the faint laughter from before suddenly became louder. The ear-piercing laughter came from all directions, like scratching, eerily echoing in the silent forest. A red lantern suddenly lit up. Ksitigaba Bodhisattva appeared again, and looked over with a kind smile, but there was also blood at the corner of his mouth. Run, run! In the distance, Toru Watanabe's voice was weak, as if swallowed by the wind. With a dull thud, he fell into the forest. The nearby Toru Watanabe stiffly stopped, put down the boulder, and strode over. Finger! Finger! The red lantern went out, and lit up again where Toru Watanabe fell. The ferocious Ksitigaba Bodhisattva stared greedily at the ground. Run! Osamu Kunai pushed the 3 of them, and ran toward the exit. The 3 of them, who were dizzy from fear, finally woke up a little. They didn't have time to think, and ran toward the exit, screaming in horror. The nearby Toru Watanabe, who was walking toward Toru Watanabe, stopped and turned to them. Finger! Finger! He murmured, and caught up. At the same time, the red lanterns lit up one by one, chasing the 4 of them. The nearby Toru Watanabe was so fast that he was like a black shadow, and caught up to the four of them in the blink of an eye, and stood in front of them. He had already lost his mind, and sticky red liquid dripped from his mouth as he walked toward one of them. Aoi Ichiki was stared at by a gaze that was as cold as a snake's. She had already lost the courage to run, and stood there dumbly. "Stop!" Osamu Kanai rushed over, and grabbed Toru Watanabe by the waist. In the next second, he was flung away like a piece of rags. Guajing! Aoi Ichiki was about to run over, but Toru Watanabe took a step forward, and immediately froze. Finger! Finger! Ah! Emu! Osamu Kanai roared and rushed forward again. This time, he didn't stop Toru Watanabe. Instead, he opened his arms, and hugged Aoi Ichiki tightly, with his back facing the finger-seeking weirdo. The forest was dead silent, and only the sound of leaves rustling in the wind could be heard. Then, there was the sound of flesh being chewed, and bones being ground by molars. Chapter 181. Rin Kiyono received a call. Kiyono-san? Aona Koizumi's voice sounded uneasy and hesitant. "What's the matter, Koizumi-sensei? Are you guys okay?" Rin Kiyono looked at the scene on the path and answered in a low voice. "Koizumi-sensei, I suggest you go back and educate Toru Watanabe and his bald friend." "What's wrong with Watanabe?" She raised her voice. "He's harassing women." "Impossible, it must be Koi-san, right? How long are you guys going to hug each other?" His coherent and natural words calmed the two people who were so scared that they didn't dare to open their eyes. Osamu Kanai slowly let go of Aoi Ichiki. The two looked over and saw that Toru Watanabe, who had a ferocious look, just now had returned to his human form. "Kun Watanabe, is that you?" Aoi Ichiki asked timidly. Osamu Tezuji once said in his human disqualification, "He came from the sea of people, only to give me false hope." "It's really Kun Watanabe." Aoi Ichiki put her hand on her chest and sighed in relief. "That's great." "Osamu Kanai? ? Why are they suddenly talking about human disqualification? Why does Osamu Tezuji's words sound wrong? Also, where did the two of them come from? But forget it, the plan is going well, the suspension bridge effect should be successful, right? Osamu Kanai secretly looked at Aoi Ichiki. Itsuki walked in front of Toru Watanabe, took the mask in his hand and looked at it carefully. "Why isn't the brain moving? If you wear it on your head, it will move when you talk." Toru Watanabe said. "What an exquisite design. By the way, Kun Watanabe, what are you eating?" "Ice." Toru Watanabe bit down. "So that's what the cold air and sound was. But aren't you cold? Have you ever seen a ghost afraid of the cold?" "There's still a twist?" Aoi Ichiki asked in fear. "Sorry to disappoint you. It's over. The exit is over there. You scared me to death. So annoying." Aoi Ichiki returned the mask to Toru Watanabe. "Then we'll leave first. I was so scared. I thought there really was a man-eating ghost. That rock looked so real." Osamu Kanai. "Why wasn't there any reaction? Shouldn't she be grateful to him?" "Koi-san, let's go out and chase after Meili and the others." Aoi Ichiki walked towards the exit, and he quickly followed. He passed by Toru Watanabe. "Guajing. What's up?" He turned around. Toru Watanabe wanted to say something, but stopped. In the end, he just patted him on the shoulder. "Good luck." "That's for sure." Toru Watanabe watched the two of them disappear into the nearby bushes. "I don't like what you're doing." Rin Kiyono handed him a new item. Toru Watanabe took the Grim Reaper's scythe. "What don't you like?" "Unauthorized physical contact." Rin Kiyono's expression was cold. "Aoi Ichiki likes girls, but she's also a girl. I understand that you guys are insensitive and lustful, but I don't like this behavior. Toru Watanabe thought for a moment. Okay, I won't do it again. Rin Kiyono's expression softened as she nodded. At this time, Toru Watanabe sighed again. Yumiki-san probably noticed it already. Judging from her reaction, there's no hope for Guojing. Then you should apologize to Yumiki-san. Together with Guojing. It's up to you. Whether he's hated or not has nothing to do with me. So, you're only targeting me? Picking on me? Do you have a problem with that? Rin Kiyono asked coldly. No. Rin Kiyono's beautiful and elegant face slowly bloomed into a smile. Her eyes, which were originally as cold as ice, were now as warm as melted snow. She looked at Toru Watanabe and said softly with a smile, "Only 2 careless people will get into a car accident. I hope I can remind you. Isn't that your goal, Watanabe-san?" Toru Watanabe trembled and turned to the main road. It's too cold to eat ice cubes in this kind of weather. Rin Kiyono looked at his back, covered her mouth elegantly, and smiled proudly. I'll be waiting for your invitation to the bonfire party the day after tomorrow. Toru Watanabe, wearing a cloak and holding a giant scythe, chased after the last group of students in a strange way that was close to flying. The wailing sound spread far and wide in the forest. After the test, the 3 people regrouped. Miki Kujo returned the clothes in her hand to Toru Watanabe. The way to scare people isn't monotonous and repetitive. It's quite interesting. These were all planned by Kiyono-san. Toru Watanabe took off his cloak and changed into his own clothes. If it weren't for my Asahi-san's advice and experience, I wouldn't have been able to do this. Rin Kiyono said, as the specific implementation, Watanabe-san's contributions can't go unnoticed. After saying that, she looked at Miki Kujo. Your sound effects are also good. Miki Kujo laughed contemptuously. You're not qualified to judge me. Is that so? Rin Kiyono returned with the same contemptuous smile. Okay. Toru Watanabe, who had put on his clothes, hurriedly comforted the 2 young ladies who were about to quarrel again. It's so cold outside. Let's hurry back. The 3 of them were closer to the starting point, so they went out through the entrance. The moon that had been hiding earlier reappeared. The bright moon shone on the 3 people walking together in the forest, and the path ahead was clear. When they passed by the boulder, Miki Kujo looked at her corpse with disdain. The corpse was wearing the old clothes that she had worn today. She had only worn it once during the day. Rin Kiyono stopped and walked towards the boulder. You added this boulder in at the last minute? It's really shocking. She put her hand on the boulder. I didn't expect it to be real. How did you move it here? Really? Miki Kujo had been nearby and saw Toru Watanabe lift the boulder that was as tall as a person with her own eyes. In various weightlifting competitions, there were strong men who could lift nearly 500 kilograms, but they could barely lift it up to their knees. Toru Watanabe lifted it above his head just now. It's so dirty. Don't touch it. Let's go. I'm freezing to death. Toru Watanabe grabbed Miki Kujo's arm. He regretted it now. He shouldn't have put in so much effort for Osamu Kanai. However, he didn't seem to have the need to hide it from the 2 young ladies. Miki Kujo glanced at him, took his hand away, and walked over. She put her index finger on the boulder and pushed it hard. Whether it was the feeling of touch or the weight, the feedback was the same. This is a real boulder. Miki Kujo brushed the dust off her finger and looked back at Toru Watanabe. I underestimated you. Her tone was casual, but her gaze was meaningful. Isn't it normal for people from the countryside to be strong? Besides, I've been through training. Toru Watanabe had an expression that said, this is common in I-Weight Prefecture. Speaking of becoming strong after a few months of training, he had to give it to Forza. He remembered bragging to Rin Kiyono that he was from the Forza family when they were on the road to Hokuji. Everything had been set up. It wouldn't be a problem to convince Miki Kujo. As if. He had to think of a way. Just as Toru Watanabe was working on his brain, Miki Kujo said, "I have to be careful when you hug my waist in the future." Let's go. Rin Kiyono turned around and walked towards the exit. Miki Kujo looked at her back and laughed disdainfully. Toru Watanabe was speechless. Terrifying, too terrifying. These two people were definitely genuine ghosts. Miki Kujo turned around and stared at him. "Come to my room later." "What's the matter?" She smiled. "It can't be anything good." "Can I not go?" Toru Watanabe asked. "Of course you can. I respect your will." He had never met someone who liked to lie so much. "I'll go." When they returned to the campsite, the news about the trial had already spread. Everyone who participated in it was terrified. It could be seen from the fact that Aona Koizumi called to ask about the situation. Taking advantage of this terrifying atmosphere, the young boys and girls began to talk about supernatural stories. The most exaggerated thing was that Toru Watanabe and the other two were actually dead. None of the people who participated in the winter campsite could escape. Toru Watanabe went to the living room and found Aoya Chiki. She and the two girls from before were telling the others about their experiences in the trial. Every group had a different experience. Classmate Ichiki. Aoi Ichiki looked up. "Kun Watanabe? What's the matter? Are you free right now?" "Kiyono classmate sent me to collect customer feedback." Aoi Ichiki, who had written a report, immediately understood what he meant. She followed Toru Watanabe to the hallway. "Classmate Ichiki, I'm very sorry about what happened just now. I went too far," Toru Watanabe said sincerely. About that, from Aoi Ichiki's expression, it could be seen that she was aware that something was wrong. "I'm really grateful that Koi classmate likes me, but this kind of thing shouldn't happen again. I'm really sorry." Toru Watanabe bowed. "Don't be like this." Aoi Ichiki quickly waved her hand. "It has nothing to do with you, Kun Watanabe. Koi classmate must have asked you to do it, right? And you're responsible for scaring people." "That's right, but I'm the one who provided the opportunity, so I'm also partly responsible. I have to apologize to you." He. Aoi Ichiki suddenly laughed. Toru Watanabe looked at her in confusion. "I'm sorry, I didn't expect Kun Watanabe to be such a gentle person. You clearly said that I was like Hokkaido in the flute section." "Like Hokkaido, Tokyo's word for Earth." Toru Watanabe didn't answer her question and said, "As for Koi classmate, if you really don't want to consider him, I hope you can completely reject him during this camping trip." Only Aoi Ichiki could make Osamu Kanai completely give up. "Okay, I'll take care of it. I'm sorry for the trouble." It's okay. Kun Watanabe's acting was really scary. If Koi classmate didn't suddenly hug me, I wouldn't have noticed that something was wrong. "Okay, then I'll be going." Kun Watanabe, did you forget about Kiyono classmate's investigation? You haven't even asked me a single question." Right. Toru Watanabe remembered his excuse for calling her out. "Koi classmate, was the quiz scary?" "Very scary." Aoi Ichiki put on a serious expression. "Okay, thank you." She waited for a while. "Is it over?" After Toru Watanabe and Aoi Ichiki separated, he went back to his room to get his clothes and prepare to go to Miki Kujo's room to take a shower. Osamu Kanai was having a good time with everyone. From the volume of his voice and the exaggeration of his body movements, it could be seen that he was in a good mood. Toru Watanabe didn't remind him. After all, this was Osamu Kanai's own business. He couldn't even protect himself right now. Walking into the luxurious single room, Miki Kujo sat on the sofa opposite the built-in fireplace. She had just come out of the shower and was wearing a loose bathrobe. Her cheeks had a touch of cherry color, and her wet black hair was shining with water. "Miki." Toru Watanabe walked over. Miki Kujo pointed to the cushion in front of her and ordered, "Sit." Toru Watanabe first put a change of clothes neatly on the sofa, then sat in front of her obediently. Reflect on your actions. Jodo crossed her arms and propped up her snow-white, slender legs, looking down at him. Toru Watanabe glanced at the open bathrobe in front of him. Her white thighs made him salivate uncontrollably. Can you first tell me what I did wrong? He said. Miki Kujo sneered coldly, as if to say that she had seen through his tricks and couldn't tolerate him anymore. First, tell me what you think of Rin Kiyono. She ordered. A lonely soul wandering in the wilderness. I think she's amazing, and I want to be friends with her. Anything else? Nothing else, that's all. You don't like her? You've never thought of being together with her? I don't even dare to think about it. Miki Kujo smiled, straightened her white and tender feet, and lifted Toru Watanabe's chin. It's good that you don't dare to think about it. Don't think that I'll always tolerate you just because I like you. Toru Watanabe held her feet, which had no calluses at all, and his hand followed the curve of her slender legs. At the same time, he also stood up, sat on the sofa, and hugged Miki Kujo. So, Miki, you lied to her about the bet? No. Miki Kujo grabbed his hand that was moving around. If you had invited her to dance at the bonfire party, I really wouldn't have punished you. This time, I'm mainly testing your sincerity. Testing my sincerity? Miki Kujo raised her left hand. The ring made of Kujo vine and red gemstone was still on her ring finger. I know you don't have a good impression of me, but the two of us will definitely get married. If possible, I hope that we can love each other more. How can I not have a good impression of you, Miki? I like you just like this. Huh? Miki Kujo sneered. You pass. If you don't refute, I'll throw you into the fireplace now. Toru Watanabe was so frightened that he buried his face in her broad chest, seeking comfort. Go and take a shower first. Miki Kujo patted his back. Let's shower together later. Are you going or not? Right away. Toru Watanabe jumped up. Remember to cut your nails too. On the soft big bed, Miki Kujo stretched out her slender arms from under the sheets and leaned lazily in Toru Watanabe's arms. Her face was rosy, her eyes were watery, and she exuded the most primitive feminine charm. Toru Watanabe combed her messy bangs. Miki, let me ask you a question. Miki Kujo's voice was half dry and half hoarse. What's the relationship between you and Rin Kiyono? I know you hate her, but you pressed her down on the bed today. Don't you hate physical contact with others? Kujo's family and Kiyono's family are very close. We often played together when we were young. Toru Watanabe imagined the two of them wearing children's clothes, playing with building blocks and reading sketchbooks together. Later on, when she could tell if someone was lying or not, their relationship faded. She hates you, Toru Watanabe guessed. You can say that, but I also started to hate her. For a period of time after she saw through the lies, the two of us were still very good friends. We were even each other's best friends. We talked about everything. I would never lie to her. The two of us even said something stupid like we would marry the same person when we grew up. Miki Kujo glanced at Toru Watanabe with a faint smile. Toru Watanabe raised his left hand, indicating that he never thought of that kind of wishful thinking. When I was in the 3rd grade, my father passed away, and I began to learn from my mother. From then on, Rin Kiyono would often point out that I was lying and threaten not to be friends with me. The more I looked at her, the more I hated her. I felt that she was a hypocrite. Hypocrite? Yes. Miki Kujo lazily responded, but that was what I thought at that time. At that time. Have you changed? Let's talk about it next time. Miki Kujo yawned. Get me a glass of water, I'm going to sleep. Toru Watanabe was very curious and wanted to listen to everything in one breath. But Miki Kujo refused, so he could only wait for the next time. He got out of bed and poured a glass of water. Miki Kujo drank half of it, and he drank the rest in one gulp. He casually placed the glass on the bed and got into bed. Miki Kujo immediately wrapped herself around him. The two warm bodies hugged each other and fell asleep. Chapter 182. December 3rd, the second day of the winter camping trip. Even though it was summer, the sky was still dark. Miki Kujo felt movement and opened her hazy eyes. Tetsumesa Watanabe was about to get out of bed. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Morning exercise." Toru Watanabe's back was facing her as he put on his pants. "Don't go, sleep with me." Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote, said, "Don't sleep in, if you don't rise with the sun, you'll fail that day." With that, Toru Watanabe stepped on the ground and was about to stand up and put on his pants. Miki Kujo stretched out her slender arm from under the blanket and grabbed his belt, not letting him get up. Toru Watanabe was helpless. Miki Kujo closed her eyes and went back to sleep, but she didn't let go. Toru Watanabe turned around and pressed his upper body against her through the blanket. He brushed aside a few strands of naughty black hair and admired her fair skin. Miki Kujo's hands naturally wrapped around his neck, her beautiful eyes opened and stared at him. The two of them looked at each other silently for a long time. "There's a Norwegian proverb," Toru Watanabe suddenly said, "laziness is like money, the more a person has, the more—" "Shut up." The girl's pink and seductive lips spat out a ruthless order. After stopping Toru Watanabe, she continued, "Kiss me." Toru Watanabe's breathing became hot and heavy. Miki Kujo's body was so beautiful that he couldn't get enough of it and couldn't bear to let go. When Toru Watanabe opened his eyes again, the sky was already bright. He got out of bed and pulled open the curtains. The sky was covered in white snow, and the sky was high and far away. Miki Kujo woke up and moaned behind him. "Give me my clothes." Toru Watanabe turned around and threw the clothes on the bed. Miki Kujo lazily sat up, stretched her arms, and put on her underwear. Halfway through, she turned her back to him. Toru Watanabe stepped forward and helped her button up. After adjusting her underwear to a comfortable position, she picked up the short-sleeved shirt and put it over her head. Then, she brushed her thick, dark hair out of her clothes. The process of the beautiful girl dressing could also be watched for a long time. Toru Watanabe picked up the clothes beside him and said as he put them on, "What kind of dance is usually performed at a bonfire party?" "There aren't any specific rules for cha-cha, country dance, and so on, right?" Miki Kujo wasn't too sure, and said in an indifferent tone. "What about secret skill, repeated horizontal jumps? What is it?" Toru Watanabe performed it on the spot, jumping from left to right, and then from right to left. Even Sakamoto wasn't as handsome and elegant as him. Miki Kujo, who was sitting on the bed, looked at her boyfriend without saying a word. Finally, she couldn't help but say, "Can you put on your pants first?" "Pants? Where are my pants?" "Who knows your pants?" Just now, Toru Watanabe was seduced by Miki Kujo halfway through putting on his pants. He vaguely remembered that in the end, he seemed to have taken them off in bed. The two of them searched the bed and found it curled up into a ball at Miki Kujo's feet. "It's so wrinkled. Go change it," Miki Kujo said in disdain. "It's too troublesome. I'll just make do with it for a day." Toru Watanabe put on his pants. "It's so dirty." "Dirty? Come, give me a kiss." "Go away and brush your teeth." "You're disgusted with me?" "Ah, my heart hurts. I'm going to die." "No, I must be kissed by Miki." "Then go to hell." "I'm going to die. I'm really going to die." This happened on a clear winter morning. After breakfast, there was an off-road car experience in the morning. It had 4 big wheels and looked like a motorcycle. Even those who didn't know anything could get started immediately. A coach came over to give them some simple instructions. Start the engine, control the accelerator, and drive 2 laps. After that, they could move freely. The boys were already so excited that they couldn't control themselves. They kicked up snowflakes and left wheel marks as they disappeared into the forest. The girls who didn't dare to enter the forest rashly were careful. Sometimes, they would let go of the accelerator and the car would jerk forward, causing the whole track to be filled with screams. The birds in the trees flew up and down from time to time, watching the noisy group of tourists. Toru Watanabe followed beside Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo. These two couldn't play with girls of the same age. Instead, they could coexist as rivals. The three of them leisurely rode the off-road vehicle through the forest. Through the gaps between the mottled tree trunks, they could see a corner of the sky. It had a unique beauty of winter. In the distance, some of the off-road cars crashed into trees. Some of them whistled past triumphantly. In the blink of an eye, they were out of the track, screaming for help. Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo didn't show any signs of contrasting cuteness. They still maintained their usual cleverness in the car. The accelerator was just right. They were calm and unhurried, as if they were riding a sightseeing car. "Aren't we going to race?" Toru Watanabe said. "Childish. Boring. Okay. After a while, are we really not going to have a life-risking competition?" he asked again. "Sure." Miki Kujo actually agreed. "Wait for us here for 3 minutes." "Why?" "Race. Comparing your life to ours, I didn't ask you to stay here. It's already because you have some value as my boyfriend that I didn't ask you to stay here." Forget it. Tokyo handsome guy must keep 30% of his mystery to others. Moreover, if he didn't rely on the system, if he didn't meet Miki Kujo and become self-disciplined, with his original efforts and ambitions, he could only open a small company listed in the second division of Tokyo Motor Company at the age of 25. Knowing my limits and never overestimating myself is also one of my greatest strengths. Toru Watanabe really admired himself. How could there be such a perfect person in the world? Being your boyfriend can reduce the time. If he can be my friend, he can at least wait 2 minutes less. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe. Kujio Miyoshi snorted and said, "Let's begin." "Then I'll leave in 1 minute. You guys go first. I'll let you know despair later," Toru Watanabe said. "Don't talk nonsense. Just say, start." Rin Kiyono's tone was as light as the colorless snow. "Ready. Start." The two slender and soft bodies slightly leaned back, and the off-road car suddenly sped out. Toru Watanabe stayed in the same place, raised his left wrist, and gently tapped the dial with his neatly trimmed right index finger. Although Rin Kiyono's physical strength was not good, she had excellent motor skills and quick reflexes. Miki Kujo didn't lose to Rin Kiyono in any aspect. She had more courage, so she had a small advantage. The two didn't say a word. Like an arrow equipped with automatic navigation, they shuttled through the forest track and drove toward the finish line. Rin Kiyono was not anxious about Miki Kujo's lead. The track was very long. She had enough patience, excellent ability, and confidence to win. She just needed an opportunity. The opportunity came quickly. Suddenly, there was a fork in the road. Both roads could be taken, but the sign at the intersection said, "This road is bumpy. Beginners please take the other road." The problem was that the sign had fallen to the ground, and there were obvious tire marks on it. It must have been accidentally knocked down by a boy, who didn't notice because he was chasing after his friend. Which road should she choose? Miki Kujo, who was driving in front, was the first to face this problem. It was impossible to tell from the tire marks. There were off-road cars driving on both roads. Miki Kujo's cold eyes looked left and right. She sneered. No matter how bumpy the road was, as long as there was a road, she could win. Miki Kujo chose the left road. Rin Kiyono, who was chasing after her, had already decided to take the other road. Following behind Miki Kujo could maintain the equality between the two of them. She could slowly find an opportunity to overtake her, but it wasn't her style to not take advantage of the opportunity. Rin Kiyono chose the right road. The two roads were not far apart. They could see each other, but the road conditions were very different. One was a smooth road for beginners, while the other was a bumpy road for veterans. After driving separately for a minute, the road conditions began to change. The unlucky one was Rin Kiyono. On the road, there were sometimes steep slopes, and sometimes there were large pits. Rin Kiyono's delicate and slender body was unable to control the off-road car in such conditions. After driving for a short distance, she lost control of the car because of a slippery road that was deliberately made icy, and half of the car was stuck in a pit. She pressed the accelerator, but the car's wheels were in the air and couldn't move. Rin Kiyono looked at Miki Kujo in the distance and sighed. She wouldn't regret what had already happened. She would only learn from her experience and not allow herself to make the same mistake again. She was still in too much of a hurry. There was still a long way to go, and there was no need to decide the winner here. Looks like you're unlucky. Miki Kujo's arrogant voice could be heard along with the sound of the off-road car's engine. She slowly drove over through the forest between the two roads. You win. Rin Kiyono said. Luck and other illusory and uncontrollable factors weren't within her scope of reflection. She was the one who chose this road, and a loss was a loss. Let's just say that I've won for now. You'll definitely find another chance to win this kind of victory that relied on luck. Rin Kiyono didn't refute Miki Kujo's words. What about the car now? She asked. Wait for Watanabe. Miki Kujo answered. Rin Kiyono glanced at her and frowned slightly. Miki Kujo was sitting in the off-road car and looking at her from above. But it was fine. She would just treat it as a punishment for being too impatient. The two of them stopped talking and waited in silence for half a minute. Toru Watanabe, who had set off late, arrived. Pig rush. Pig rush. Transmigrator, charge with me. Accompanied by impassioned shouts, the black off-road car rushed over unreasonably, leaving a trail of snow in its wake. He didn't choose any of the two roads, and deliberately chose the most difficult one in the middle of the forest. The barely passable forest didn't slow him down. Under Toru Watanabe's control, the cumbersome off-road car was lighter than the lightest bicycle, and it shuttled through the fir trees like a snake. Pig rush. Pig rush, eh? When Toru Watanabe discovered them, the off-road car's front wheel was lifted, and it forcibly changed direction and drove towards them. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe stopped the off-road car and asked. You suggested a competition because you wanted to play, right? You think that we're too slow and boring? Miki Kujo looked at him and said. There's no such thing. Toru Watanabe denied. The car got stuck? Well, I made a mistake. Rin Kiyono nodded and admitted it. So, Miki won? Toru Watanabe pulled up the stuck car. She won this time. Rin Kiyono noticed his understatement. Can you really train so much strength in half a year? What's this? In our Forza family, we can defeat Super Saiyan Blue in 4 months. Rin Kiyono had no idea what Toru Watanabe was talking about. But this is definitely nonsense again. She looked at him with dissatisfaction. Toru Watanabe was stared at by her reproachful eyes, and he said angrily, What are you worried about? No matter how strong I am, I won't hurt you. When he said this, a breeze blew, and a little snow fell from the treetops. Watanabe, come here. Miki Kujo's voice came along with the wind. Miki, listen to my explanation. Shut up and stand still. Miki Kujo got out of the car, bent down, and picked up the snow with her gloved hands. As she walked over, she rolled it into a ball. No matter how strong I am, I won't hurt you. You speak very nicely. Saying this, she slapped the snowball on Toru Watanabe's forehead. The soft snowball immediately broke into pieces. Most of it fell to the ground, a little stuck to Toru Watanabe's bangs, and a little fell on the bridge of his nose and lips. Toru Watanabe spat out the snow in his mouth. Miki, you misunderstood me. Not only Kiyono-san, I won't hurt ordinary people. What are you implying? Are you mocking me? Miki Kujo grabbed another handful of snow. No. Wait. Miki Kujo raised her hand and threw the snowball over. At that moment, Toru Watanabe pulled Rin Kiyono, who was standing at the side, over to Rin Kiyono's side. Then, he shrunk his body and hid behind Rin Kiyono. Asterisk smack. Asterisk the snowball landed on Rin Kiyono's helmet and made a pleasant sound. Then, the snow slowly slid down. Since there was no chest to block it, it fell into her arms. The forest fell into a deathly silence. Then, ha ha ha. Miki Kujo let out the happiest and most joyful laugh ever. Rin Kiyono's face was expressionless. She let go of her hands and let the snow in her arms fall to the ground. Then, she gracefully patted her arms and brushed the snow off her helmet. Then, she bent down and simply rolled the snow into a snowball. She slapped one of the snowballs on Toru Watanabe's face behind her, and used the other to hit Miki Kujo, who was still laughing. Miki Kujo's face instantly turned cold after being shot. She said word by word, "No one has ever dared to hit me before." What a coincidence. Me too. Rin Kiyono sneered in response. A snowball fight broke out on the spot. First, it was Miki Kujo. She grabbed a snowball, pressed it into shape, and quickly threw it. Rin Kiyono knew her own stamina, so she didn't choose to dodge. She had already put down her helmet's goggles and chose to take it head-on. At the same time that she was hit, she also finished rolling the snowball and threw it accurately. On the other hand, Miki Kujo, because of her misophobia, definitely didn't want to be hit. She spent most of her time dodging, and only occasionally bent down to pick up a snowball. The two of them went back and forth. Of course, Toru Watanabe also participated in the fight. He made 2 snowballs that were bigger than his head, and gave one to each of them. The snowballs hit the helmet. Miki Kujo was fine, but Rin Kiyono's body swayed, and she actually fell into the snow. Ha ha ha. Toru Watanabe held his stomach and laughed wildly. Watanabe, you're courting death. Toru Watanabe-san, I have to accompany your courage. The 3 of them hid in the forest, and snowballs danced in the air between them. In the middle of the fight, Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo didn't know who attacked who first, and the 2-on-1 turned into a 3-on-1 fight. Toru Watanabe hit whoever didn't look embarrassed enough. Occasionally, he would deliberately smash Rin Kiyono to the ground, because the scene was too funny. In the end, even Miki Kujo began to try to bully her with a big snowball. Rin Kiyono could only choose to use a small snowball. But with its terrifying hit rate, it fiercely hit the other 2 girls' faces several times, not to mention the other parts of their bodies. The snowball fight continued until the 2 girls couldn't help but sweat and go back to the hot spring. The 3 of them drove back slowly in the off-road vehicle. How was it? Did you have fun? Toru Watanabe asked. As soon as he asked, Miki Kujo lowered her eyelids slightly and looked at him. Just now, you used Rin Kiyono to block the snowballs. Did you do it on purpose? What? What did you say? The engine was too loud. On the other side, Rin Kiyono also looked over. Without waiting for Miki Kujo to speak again, Toru Watanabe said loudly, "You're all sweaty. If you don't take a bath quickly, you'll catch a cold." He stepped on the gas and sped towards the campsite. These 2 girls were terrifyingly smart. They actually saw through his plan so quickly. He just wanted them, who had no friends, to become friends again. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.